In this world, day and night switch every 30 minutes. When darkness falls, monsters come out to hunt. By daylight, they return wearing human skin. But if the light is too weak, even during the day, the monsters can still appear. That is the so-called friendly rule of day and night. I was still sleeping peacefully in my dorm, completely unaware that the world outside had already collapsed. Then, in the dead of night, I suddenly woke up. The whole room was thick with blood and rot. A wet, crunching sound kept drilling into my ears. I turned toward the source of the sound. On the bed opposite mine, a figure was hunched over. It was chewing on something I could not even see. The stench was so strong I could barely breathe. Without thinking, I opened my mouth and asked, "Su Ming, what the hell are you eating?" Suddenly, a sense of dread washed over me, but before I could process it, a massive shadow lunged toward me. Then, everything went black. I completely lost consciousness. When I woke up again, my head was throbbing. A line of pale blue text appeared before my eyes. Spirit value 30. What is this? Recalling what I saw before blacking out, seemed I had died. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was a message from my roommate Zhang Yan. "Lin Che, if you're awake, whatever you do, don't make a sound. Su Ming is dead. You're next." I was terrified by the message. I immediately turned to look at Su Ming's bed. The figure hunched there was far too large, clearly didn't match Su Ming's build, and that foul smell in the air was becoming increasingly nauseating. The wet, slurping sounds of chewing continued, like a beast devouring raw flesh. Then, a question suddenly popped into my head. If that thing on the bed isn't Su Ming, then what is it? And what exactly is it eating? An intense feeling of unease filled my heart. My phone vibrated again. "There's a monster in our dorm, but it's blind. As long as you're silent, you'll be safe for now. Su Ming was eaten because he snored too loudly. That's why he was devoured." My eyes widened as I read this. Sound. Isn't the vibration a sound too? Panicking, I quickly switched my phone to silent. The dorm finally fell silent. But then, I realized with horror, the monster was gone. Just as I was about to text Zhang Yan, I felt a sudden chill above my head. I instinctively looked up. My scalp tingled with fear. An unknown creature was hanging upside down from the ceiling, staring straight at me. The next second, its neck extended grotesquely and bit my head clean off. My vision plunged into darkness once again. When I opened my eyes for the third time, my head felt like it was splitting open. The blue text before me had changed. Spirit value 0. A chill ran through my entire body. One death costs 30 points. If I die again, will I be gone for good? Looking at the massive figure on the opposite bed, it seemed to be feeding with excitement. The constant chewing and swallowing sounds chilled me to the bone. I fought the urge to jump out of bed and run. I quickly grabbed my phone and set it to silent. Just then, a mechanical voice echoed in my mind. "Talent awakening detected. Beginning binding. Binding successful. Reward 30 spirit points." With a thought, I opened the attribute page. Name, Lin Che. Talent, Kato Taka's hand LV33. Precognitive Dream. Spirit value 30. Exchangeable. I was immediately drawn to the talent column. Precognitive Dream. Does this mean I can see the future in dreams? Were those deaths just dreams? Am I still dreaming right now? My expression shifted in confusion. Then, I focused on the words, exchangeable. A system notification popped up. Exchangeable, 3 attribute points, can increase strength, spirit, etc. Exchangeable 2, 3 skill points, can upgrade regular skills. Looking at my pathetic skills, I exchanged my spirit points for attribute points. I began to carefully consider, but just as I was thinking about where to allocate the points, I felt a slight chill above my head. I looked up and saw that terrifying face again. Even though I held my breath, I was gripped by an unprecedented terror. I watched helplessly as that face drew closer and closer, clinging to my last shred of consciousness. I screamed frantically in my mind, "Put them all into spirit. You have used 3 attribute points. Spirit plus 3. Current spirit 9. As the system notification appeared, a sudden wave of clarity washed over my brain. My thoughts became instantly sharp. In that instant, a spark of inspiration hit me. Since sound attracts the monster, if I throw something to make noise, could I lure it away? I didn't dare waste a second. I grabbed the earphone case by my pillow and hurled it. The moment the case hit the floor, the monster on the ceiling lunged with a whoosh. I barely had time to roll out of bed before I could even stand firm. I heard the earphone case get crushed with a loud snap. A second later, silence returned to the room. I realized that while I was still terrified, it wasn't as overwhelming as before. This led me to a suspicion. Does being closer to the monster make you lose your sanity? Just then, the monster suddenly spun around and leaped toward my bed. I broke into a cold sweat. Luckily, I had gotten out of bed in time. Otherwise, I would have been eaten alive. Feeling the monster right beside me, an immense fear enveloped me once again, confirmed my theory. But before I could catch my breath, the monster shifted its target and crawled toward the foot of the bed. My heart tightened. Right next to the foot of my bed was Zhang Yan's. What do? Zhang Yan can't die. I racked my brain in desperation. Then, seeing the water cup on the desk, I had a sudden idea. I quickly messaged Zhang Yan. I'll throw the cup to distract the monster. Use the chance to get out of bed. Just then, Zhang Yan's message arrived. Find a way to make noise and lure the monster. Then use the chance to turn on the light. It's currently daytime. As long as the light is on, the monster will vanish. Seeing this message, I found it strange. Daytime, but right now it's clearly night. Though I was confused, I still grabbed the water cup and hurled it. Without waiting to see the monster's reaction, I bolted toward the door. I reached out and flipped the light switch. The moment the lights flickered on, the monster vanished. But the scene in the dorm left me horrified. Su Ming's bed was drenched in blood. A gruesome, blurred mass lay before my eyes. Then came Zhang Yan's irritated voice. What's all the noise? Can't anyone get some sleep? Why the hell did you turn on the lights? What is that foul smell? But the second he saw the state of the room, he leaped out of bed. What the fuck is going on? Don't tell me this pile of guts is Su Ming. I stared at him, my voice trembling. Zhang Yan, have you been asleep this whole time? Zhang Yan looked confused. Noschit, of course I was sleeping. What else would I be doing? His words hit me like a bolt of lightning. If Zhang Yan had been asleep the whole time, then who was the person messaging me? Thinking this, I quickly scrolled through my contacts. Sure enough, another Zhang Yan appeared on the main screen. I clicked it and the previous chat history was right there. I realized it instantly. Someone was impersonating Zhang Yan to talk to me. Just then, another message arrived. Now that you've turned on the lights, be careful to hide it. No one can know I'm the one messaging you. I swallowed hard. I slowly typed 3 words into the chat box. Who are you? Right then, Yu Tungwen in the bed next to Su Ming's woke up. His face was also filled with terror. Lin Che, Zhang Yan, have you two been awake? What happened? I didn't answer. I just stared intently at the reply on my phone. I am the Zhang Yan from the future. I know your mind is in chaos right now, and you're probably doubting me. But believe me, I won't hurt you. The monster has only vanished temporarily. Don't let your guard down. In this world, day and night cycle. Every 30 minutes, monsters come out to hunt during the night. During the day, they return to human form. But in low light conditions, even during the day, the monsters will appear. The time is currently 2:35 a.m. When it hits 3 a.m., the monster will reappear. Before that, you must kill Yu Tungwen, because he is the monster. The dorm is already sealed. Until a life and death resolution is reached, no one can leave. My heart sank when I read the last sentence. I rushed to try the door, but it wouldn't budge. Seeing this, Zhang Yan strode over and yanked the handle. Then his expression shifted. Why won't the door open? Then Yu Tungwen and Zhang Yan rushed to the window. But no matter how hard they smashed it, nothing happened. Yu Tungwen completely panicked. Maybe we should call the police first? Zhang Yan's face looked grim. No, I've already tried. There's no signal or internet. Even emergency calls won't go through. I stood aside, staring intently at Zhang Yan and Yu Tungwen. Both looked panicked and agitated. These were the reactions of normal people. My thoughts raced. By normal logic, I should trust the Zhang Yan in my phone. After all, if he hadn't messaged me, I might already be dead. But he's actually telling me to kill Yu Tungwen. Is this person really Zhang Yan? In an instant, 1,000 thoughts flooded my mind. I pinched my thigh hard, forcing myself to calm down. Whether the fake Zhang Yan was telling the truth or not, I had to find the real monster, and I had to make them reveal a clear flaw. Only then could I secure help. Acting rashly would surely lead to interference from the other, or I might even be mistaken for Su Ming's killer. With that, I decided to test them first. Everyone, calm down for a second. There's something I have to tell you right now. There's a monster in our dorm. Su Ming was eaten by that monster. The monster vanished after I turned on the lights, but it's likely still in the room. The two of them froze instantly. Yu Tun-gwen began to tremble. That's impossible. How could there be monsters in this world? Lin Che, are you just too terrified by the gore? Maybe your brain is creating hallucinations as a defense mechanism. Zhang Yan nodded and chimed in. Rather than a monster eating people, I'd rather believe this is some prank video. The doors and windows must have been secretly replaced. Su Ming is probably hiding somewhere, laughing at us. Zhang Yan grew more animated as he spoke, walking straight over to check Su Ming's bed. After a moment, he suddenly screamed, "This is a real corpse. Su Ming is actually dead." Seeing them fall into panic, I took control of the conversation again. "Enough. Stop guessing. I really saw the monster. It definitely wasn't a hallucination. And whether you believe me or not, the most important question right now is, where is the monster? I suspect the monster is hiding among us. Someone's body has already been taken over by the monster." As soon as I said this, the expressions of the other two turned grim. Zhang Yan shouted in shock, "What do you mean? Are you saying the monster can parasitize us?" I pondered for a moment. This is just a hypothesis. I think even if the monster can take over a human body, it might not possess the person's memories. We can each share something that only we know about each other. Maybe that will force the monster to slip up. I'll go first. During freshman military training, I performed the middle part dance and the basketball dance, and even showed off some Kuan-style boxing. Zhang Yan thought for a moment. That day, I showed everyone a one-finger pull-up and had a wrestling match with the instructor. Yu Tun-gwen swallowed hard. I just broke up with my girlfriend the day before yesterday, and you guys drank with me to cheer me up. Yu Tun-gwen and Zhang Yan clearly breathed a sigh of relief. But I wasn't optimistic. I tested Yu Tun-gwen again. Yu Tun-gwen, did you feel anything unusual before you woke up? Hearing my question, Yu Tun-gwen shook his head. No. I raised an eyebrow and walked toward him. The smell of blood in this room is overwhelming, and Su Ming has been turned into a pile of rotting meat. You were sleeping in the bed right next to him, and you didn't feel a thing? Zhang Yan didn't throw up because his dad is a forensic pathologist and often takes him to crime scenes, but you're usually the most cowardly one. Seeing this, you don't even feel like vomiting? Yu Tun-gwen was forced back by me step by step and ended up crashing onto the floor. What exactly are you trying to say? Maybe it's just because I was sleeping too soundly. You can't just call me a monster based on that, can you? Yu Tong-wen's eyes were bloodshot, looking exactly like the grievance and rage of someone framed. Seeing this, I frowned deeply. This expression didn't look fake. Could it be that, because Yu Tun-gwen was asleep the whole time, he really didn't feel any fear? Was I wrong? Or is this monster just a great actor? I glanced at the switch by the dorm door. Do I still have to use this method? According to the tip from future Zhang Yan, the monster kills following the rules of day and night. When I turned on the light, the monster did disappear. So once the lights go out, it will most likely reappear. Then it'll be obvious who the monster is. I looked down at my phone.
2:46 a.m.
There's no more time. I made up my mind and rushed straight for the switch. But just then, a figure suddenly blocked my path. It was Yu Tun-gwen. His voice was trembling. Zhang Yan, don't you think Lin Che is acting strange? And Lin Che has been staring at his phone this whole time. But none of us have any signal right now. Who on earth is Lin Che contacting? I suspect Lin Che is the monster. He's the thief crying thief. I was startled by his words. Yu Tun-gwen is definitely up to something. With his cowardly personality, why would he suddenly attack me, especially in an environment like this? Unless he is the monster, trying to stop me from turning off the lights. Once I realized this, I snapped coldly, Yu Tun-gwen, why are you so agitated? Are you feeling guilty? I am now completely certain that you are the monster in disguise, and I have a way to force your true form out. Yu Tun-gwen didn't back down. You've been the one talking this whole time. Who knows what's true and what's a lie? If you ask me, you're the most suspicious one here. Unless you let us see your phone. Under Yu Tong-wen's deliberate guidance, Zhang Yan's attention finally shifted to my phone. Lin Che, why don't you show him your phone first? I kept a straight face. I can show you the phone. but while he's checking the phone, this fake Yu Tungwen will definitely come up with more excuses. His real goal is to stall for time. I already know how to expose him, since the monster disappears when the lights are on. Then if I turn them off now, the monster will definitely reappear. As long as I flip the switch back on immediately after turning it off, the monster's true face will be revealed. I absolutely cannot let Yu Tungwen turn off the lights. Otherwise, once he transforms, he could destroy the switch. If we can't turn the lights back on, we're dead. Hearing this, Zhang Yan shuddered. He rushed to the switch and pinned Yu Tungwen down. Just as he was about to test it by turning off the light, Yu Tungwen suddenly screamed, "Zhang Yan, don't turn off the lights. I've awakened the ability to read minds. Lin Che is the monster. If the lights go out, we're dead. I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if I can really hear people's thoughts. Then I should say exactly what's on your mind right now, as proof. Am I right?" Seeing Zhang Yan's expression waver, Yu Tungwen pressed his advantage. "No way. Can Yu Tungwen really know what I'm thinking? How is that possible? He's just guessing, right?" The more Yu Tungwen spoke, the wider Zhang Yan's eyes grew. I was equally shocked. The monster actually had a trick like this. Seeing the wavering Zhang Yan, I quickly shouted, "This is just some special ability of the monster. Don't let this trick manipulate you. We must kill it before 3 a.m. Otherwise, we'll all die when the time comes." Zhang Yan was caught in the middle, torn between us. Right then, Yu Tungwen suddenly roared, "I can prove myself." Then, he lunged toward Su Ming's desk, grabbed a fruit knife, and without hesitation, slashed his own wrist. "I've been bullied ever since I started college, and you guys were the ones who saved me. But now Su Ming has been eaten, and Lin Che's body has been taken over by the monster. I don't want you to die too. Rather than both of us dying when the lights go out, I'd rather die alone. Zhang Yan, do you believe me now?" Zhang Yan was completely stunned. His eyes welled up with emotion. He seemed to believe Yu Tungwen now. Knowing the situation had spiraled out of control, I took a deep breath. Damn it, this self-harm ploy hit Zhang Yan's weak spot. He's starting to doubt me now. If I insist that Yu Tungwen is the monster now, Zhang Yan will definitely turn against me. What the hell should I do? I checked my phone. It was already 2:56 a.m. We're running out of time. At this critical moment, a message from future Zhang Yan finally arrived. "Lin Che, haven't you killed Yu Tungwen yet? Time is almost up." Here's another crucial piece of information. Monsters that have just taken over a human body cannot digest a large amount of memories in a short time. They usually selectively merge some basic human common sense, but other memories require deep thought to recall. Seeing this, I immediately looked up. "Yu Tungwen, you just said you broke up the day before yesterday, but do you remember the exact date you first met your girlfriend?" Yu Tungwen looked pained. "What other tricks are you trying to pull? You've already been exposed." I cut him off immediately. "Answer me right now. Who paid for the meal when we first met in freshman year? What score did you get on your English CET 4? This time, Yu Tungwen simply closed his eyes. Let me think. I didn't give him a chance. I went for the killing blow. "Tell me, the Imperial Jade liquid wine. How much is a glass?" I fired question after question, but Yu Tungwen kept acting like he was on the verge of death. "I'm a bit tired. Let me think." Just then, a click interrupted our conversation. Zhang Yan had pressed the switch. The moment the lights went out, the monster's neck stretched out grotesquely. Just as it was about to bite me, the lights in the dorm suddenly flashed back on. The monster reappeared where it had fallen earlier, returning to Yu Tungwen's appearance. A cold sweat instantly broke out across my back. Luckily, Zhang Yan was fast with the switch, otherwise I would have been dead. Beside me, Zhang Yan was both shocked and furious. "You really are a fucking monster. You dared to play with my emotions." He immediately rushed over and kicked Yu Tungwen to the ground. Grabbing a metal stool, he began smashing it down in a rage. Seeing that Zhang Yan's attacks were missing the mark, I lunged forward and grabbed the fruit knife from the floor, plunging it without hesitation into Yu Tungwen's throat. Then, I stabbed him several more times in the heart, before finally stopping. However, Yu Tungwen didn't revert to his monster form. quickly grabbed my phone. It was already 2:59 a.m. The chat screen was flashing with messages from Zhang Yan. Did you kill Yu Tungwen? I don't have much time left. Remember everything I'm about to tell you. From the moment you step out of the dorm door, do not trust anyone. Get to the roof of the dorm as fast as you can and jump. That is the only way to survive. Also, there's a girl named Chu Ting in the building. If you run into her before you leave, tell her the ritual node is in room 1104. From now on, fight with everything you have to stay alive. I scanned the messages quickly, with no time to read them carefully. My fingers flew across the screen. I've already killed Yu Tungwen, but why hasn't he turned back into a monster? A reply from the future Zhang Yan popped up. Damn it, one of my messages failed to send. Monsters are resilient. Only decapitation can guarantee they are truly dead. Damn it, how could I fail to send something so critical? This must be the interference of the rules. Reading this, I cursed under my breath. I hurriedly picked up the fruit knife again. But right then, the disfigured Yu Tungwen suddenly curled his lips into a sinister smile. The next second, darkness fell. Everything in my sight vanished. Zhang Yan's scream cut off abruptly. Then, an eerie chewing sound filled the room. Instinct drove me to scramble toward the light switch. I flicked it repeatedly in a panic, but the lights refused to come on. In the darkness, I felt a massive maw begin to tear into my chest and abdomen. A surge of excruciating pain hit me, and I completely lost consciousness. In the dead of night in the dorm, my eyes snapped open. I bolted upright in bed. I'm not dead? It was pitch black, with only the occasional sound of chewing in my ears. My skin crawled instantly. I quickly suppressed my heavy breathing and fumbled for my phone by the pillow. The time was 2:30 a.m. My pupils contracted. Was everything I just experienced a dream? I quickly switched the phone to silent mode. Just then, a familiar mechanical voice echoed in my mind. Talent awakening detected. Beginning binding process. In less than a second, the binding was complete. I skillfully summoned the system panel. It was identical to the one before. I see. So this is a premonition dream. Now this is the actual reality. Being killed by the monster 3 times in a row was all within the dream. After the third death, my spirituality reached 0, and that's when I woke up. Suddenly, I noticed my spirit attribute was actually 9. It turns out the attribute bonuses gained in the dream are retained after waking up. I checked my phone. Zhang Yan's message hadn't arrived yet. Can communication only be established within the dream? I took a deep breath. Now is not the time for thinking. The priority is to kill the monster first. I can't afford to die this time. I reached for the Bluetooth earphone by my pillow and tossed it away. With a sharp clatter, the behemoth lunged toward it as expected. I took the chance to get out of bed, grabbed a water cup from the table and hurled it. The moment the glass shattered, I rushed to the switch by the dorm door and flipped the lights on. Zhang Yan's irritated voice rang out. Why the hell did you turn on the lights? What's that pungent smell? Then Yu Tungwen crawled up from his bed. Lin Che, Zhang Yan, have you guys been awake this whole time? What the hell is going on? I didn't say much. I just ran to the door and pretended to open it. The result was obvious. Due to the restrictions of the rules, the door could not be opened. Seeing this, Zhang Yan and Yu Tungwen both rushed over. Of course I knew the door wouldn't open. I only did it to lure Yu Tungwen closer to me. I opened my personal panel again. System, allocate points, all into strength. You have used 3 attribute points. Strength plus 3. Current strength, 8. An indescribable soreness surged through my body. I felt my muscles swell instantly. Now I felt as if a single punch could kill 10 bulls. Noticing something was off, Yu Tungwen stepped forward. Lin Che, what are you doing? But before he could finish, I delivered a powerful kick. Yu Tungwen slammed violently against the wall. Zhang Yan was horrified. He immediately grabbed my arm. What are you doing? I gripped Zhang Yan's wrist in reverse, pulling him back toward the light switch. Yu Tungwen is a monster. He's the one who ate Su Ming. My strength left Zhang Yan completely stunned. In his mind, I was just a weakling, but the power I was showing now was even greater than his. I held my phone up in one hand, the flashlight beam shining directly on Yu Tungwen, while my other hand rested on the switch. Zhang Yan, watch closely. As I spoke, click, the lights went out. Yu Tongwen's frail body instantly twisted and bloated, transforming into a towering monster. Before Zhang Yan could react, the monster lunged at us with blinding speed. Then, click, the room was lit once again. Yu Tongwen returned to his original form, slumped on the floor, as if everything had just been a hallucination. Zhang Yan's eyes widened, unable to believe what he had just witnessed. By then, I had already leaped forward, grabbing the fruit knife from Su Ming's desk. I gave Yu Tongwen no chance to explain. With the bonus of 8 strength, Yu Tongwen was powerless to resist. I pinned his head down firmly, severing his head with a single strike. Looking at the decapitated monster on the floor, I felt a moment of daze. It was surprisingly smooth this time. Simultaneously, the system's mechanical voice echoed in my head. You have slain a ghostly clone. Hearing this, I snapped out of my daze. What is a ghostly clone? Such a sinister and cunning monster was merely a clone? Then how terrifying must the original be? Then I recalled the tip Zhang Yan gave me at the last moment in the dream. From the moment you step out of the dorm door, do not trust anyone. Clearly, throughout this entire dormitory building, there lies a tremendous danger. I steadied my nerves and continued checking the system prompts. Spirit points plus 10. First aberration kill detected. You have earned 1 supernatural skill. Options are as follows. Supernatural skill 1. Mind reading. By touching the target's body with your palm, you can read their inner thoughts. Supernatural skill 2. Berserk. Activating this state increases strength and agility by 50% and reduces pain perception by 50%. Supernatural skill 3. Clone. You can detach any body tissue to create a clone. The clone's attributes are 50% of your own. Please choose within 10 seconds. Exceeding the time limit will be treated as a forfeiture. Seeing this, I was first overcome with joy. Killing aberrations actually increases spirit points. This is the foundation for increasing my strength. Then I began to consider carefully. All these abilities are practical. However, while Berserk increases power, still not enough compared to the monsters in my dreams. A clone might provide a surprise at a critical moment, but its attributes are only 50% of mine. Facing monsters now, it would just be insta-killed. Mind reading, however, has a higher margin for error. If I face another dilemma, I can at least make one precise judgment. With that thought, I made up my mind. I choose mind reading. A second later, the mechanical voice of the system rang out. You have acquired the supernatural skill, mind reading. I breathed a long sigh of relief. In the short 3 minutes since I got out of bed, I felt as if a lifetime had passed. Zhang Yan's "holy shit" continued to ring in my ears. I stepped forward and patted his shoulder. Zhang Yan, I know you probably have a lot of questions, but the situation is urgent. I'll only ask you once. Can you trust me unconditionally from now on? No matter what I do, will you stay by my side? Hearing this, Zhang Yan nodded without hesitation. Nodu, I have to trust you. We're brothers from different mothers. I'd practically give you my ass. Ignoring his nonsense, I used the fruit knife to open the dorm door. As I stepped over the threshold, an indescribably thick scent of blood instantly flooded my nostrils. What met my eyes was a hellish scene. The entire corridor was cast in a dim, bloody hue. A group of over 10 people were gathered nearby. Amidst the noise were screams of, "Kill him, hurry up and beat him to death." I instinctively wanted to retreat back into the room, but my soul made a sticky, squelching sound. That small sound instantly drew everyone's attention. Someone suddenly roared, "The door to 412 is open." Instantly, countless gazes snapped toward us. Why are there 2 of them this time? Are they both monsters? Doesn't matter what they are, just restrain them first. People shouted over each other, closing in on us. My heart tightened. I had originally planned to head to the roof as fast as possible after leaving, but the horrific, bloody scene in the corridor forced me to be cautious. The students around me looked terrified, yet they hadn't fled this place. This could only mean one thing. They were all trapped. Without hesitation, I immediately exchanged my only 10 spirit points for 1 attribute point, adding it directly to strength. Then, I tightened my grip on the fruit knife, preparing to strike first. Just then, a skin-crawling system prompt appeared before me. Detected. You are at the Convergence of Gloom. Forced quest activated. The night demon lurking in the dark has noticed you. Every decision you make will be a test of life and death.
Quest objective.
Prevent the night demon's ascension.
Quest reward.
Choose one from 3 random divine sequences. Failure results in forced erasure. Time limit.
4 am.
Quest start. While I was pondering the quest, a gloomy voice suddenly echoed from behind the crowd. Everyone, shut up. A student holding a baseball bat stepped out from the crowd. I recognized him instantly. Su Pengju, the student council president. Usually, he's always surrounded by followers, looking down on ordinary students like us. Su Pengju stopped a step in front of me. How did you kill the monster? And how did you get out? You'd better tell us everything that happened in your dorm. I raised an eyebrow and countered with a question. What's going on in the corridor? Why are so many people dead? Explain what happened here. Hearing this, Su Pengju's face darkened, but after glancing at the muscular Zhang Yan beside me, he suppressed his rage and explained. It went like this. Last night, some people couldn't sleep and visited other rooms, only to find that everyone in several dorms was dead. Then everyone was alerted, but we found 3 dorms that couldn't be opened. No signal, no network. Emergency calls didn't work either. We were all trapped. Then, around 2 a.m., the lights suddenly went out. We couldn't see a thing. The entire corridor was filled with screams. There were over 100 people on the 4th floor, but when the lights came back on, fewer than 20 of us were left. Then, the door to room 403 suddenly opened, and only Ma Tao came out alive. We tried to get the details from him, and he said there was a problem with the circuitry. The monsters can travel through the wires into every light tube. Once they accumulate enough energy, they manifest in the real world. The lights going out is the signal of their arrival. If we want to survive, we have to destroy the power source or the light tubes. I believed his bullshit, but the moment I pulled the power switch, more screams immediately rang out. Even though I flipped the switch back as fast as I could, when the lights came back on, 3 more students had died brutally. After hearing this, it was as if the fog cleared. Many things I didn't understand before suddenly became crystal clear. I had been wondering why the monsters didn't just destroy the power at the main distribution room first. And as for Yu Tunguen in my dream, he clearly had the chance to secretly turn off the lights, so why didn't he? It seems that because of certain rules, monsters cannot interfere with lights or electricity. They can only use deception and manipulation to trick humans into doing it for them. At that moment, Su Pengju snapped his gaze toward us. Now that you 2 are out, tell me exactly what happened in your dorm. How did you kill the monster? If you don't cooperate, we'll simply assume you're monsters too. Su Pengju's words resonated with the emotions of everyone present, those who had shrunk back due to Zhang Yan's presence. At this moment, the crowd grew furious. Feeling the blade-like glares from all around, I took a step forward. Calm down, everyone. We all have the same goal, to get out of here as quickly as possible. And I have a way now, but as for how to do it, I need to confirm 2 things first. First, I want to know where Ma Tao is. Su Pengju jerked his chin toward a spot nearby. Over there. The crowd blocking the view naturally split to both sides. Following Su Pengju's gaze, everyone froze the next second. Aside from a pool of blood, there was no one there. Su Pengju's expression shifted drastically. He rushed over, frantically asking the crowd, "Where is Ma Tao?" The crowd erupted in chaos. "I don't know. He was just here. Wasn't he beaten to death? How could he just vanish?" Such an eerie scene sent a chill down everyone's spine. I looked at them and asked, "Is it possible that Ma Tao isn't actually dead? Did any of you see him turn into a monster?" Su Pengju looked shocked. "What do you mean? There was a headless monster corpse in your dorm just now. Could it be that monsters only die when beheaded?" I didn't answer. I just stared at Li Chuang, Su Pengju's lackey. "Imperial Court Jade liquid wine. How much for a glass?"
Li Chuang pausa, confusa.
"What the hell are you talking about? This makes no sense." My expression remained calm. "I'll give you one chance. Answer me now." Li Chuang's face darkened. "Brother Pang, these 2 bastards are doing this on purpose. They have no intention of cooperating. Let's stop wasting our breath. I bet they're just like Ma Tao, monsters in disguise. Let's take them down together." Li Chuang tried to say more, but right then, I lunged suddenly, pinned Li Chuang's head, and slashed hard. Under the effect of my level 9 strength,
Lichuang cervical spinas napat instantly.
such a horrific sight sent the crowd reeling back in terror. Then they raised their weapons to restrain me. Seeing this, I pointed at Li Chuang on the floor. Are you sure you want to attack? Open your eyes and look closely. Who is the real monster here? The crowd looked where I was pointing. Li Chuang's corpse had already twisted and bloated, transforming into a hideous monster. Su Pengju began to tremble uncontrollably.
Lichuang
Was a monster? How is that possible? He was with us the whole time. How could he be a monster? Are all monsters transformed humans? The crowd erupted in frantic discussion. My voice snapped them back to reality. Monsters hide among the crowd. That is the killing rule of day and night. When night falls, monsters reveal themselves to kill. When day breaks, humans have the chance to find and kill the monsters. Hearing this, the tight-knit crowd scattered, their eyes filled with suspicion toward one another. Seeing this, I let out a cold sneer. I've already killed 2 monsters. Right now, I'm the most likely to be human. Whoever targets me, the more likely they are to be a monster. And one more thing, anyone who dares to incite panic or stir up trouble deserves to die, even if they aren't a monster. My gaze swept across the crowd. Everyone I looked at avoided my eyes. Finally, my gaze landed on a burly, fat man. You're Wang Zhan, right? You shared a dorm with Li Chuang, but he bullied you constantly. Logically, you should hate him. So why were you so eager to protect him? Tell me. Imperial Court Jade liquid wine. How much for a glass? As soon as I spoke, the crowd remembered my question before I killed Li Chuang. They all realized what was happening, and quickly backed away from Wang Zhan. Wang Zhan's face turned pale. You don't think I'm a monster, do you? 180 per glass. Hearing the answer, I asked again. Odd changes, even stays. Signs depend on the quadrant. Who has the best excavator skills? Look for Lanxiang in Shandong. 3 questions in a row, and Wang Zhan answered all of them correctly and quickly, but I kept staring at him. After 2 seconds, I suddenly smiled. Follow me. With that, I strode toward the side of the corridor. Wang Zhan hesitated for a moment, but he obediently followed behind. After walking about 10 meters, I suddenly stopped and pointed to the circuit breaker on the wall. Wang Zhan, go flip the switch. As soon as I said it, the others panicked, shouting to stop him. I ignored everything happening around me, stared at Wang Zhan and jerked my chin. Flip the switch. Cold sweat poured down Wang Zhan's face. I really can't flip it. If the monsters appear, we'll all die. If you suspect me, you can keep asking me questions. I can answer any of them. I leaned against the wall and reminded him, you can flip it down, then push it back up as fast as possible. As long as the lights go off and on quickly enough, the monsters won't have time to kill. Wang Zhan gritted his teeth, his eyes bloodshot. This is all just your guesswork. You just want to kill me to vent your anger, because everyone was against you earlier. If you really think I'm a monster, then just kill me, but I will never flip that switch. I can't gamble with everyone's lives. Upon hearing this, everyone present was deeply moved. Then Wang Zhan looked around at the crowd, a look of desperation crossing his face, and grabbed my wrist holding the knife. Come on, just kill me. If I die, I hope you won't take your anger out on others. But before Wang Zhan could touch me, I had already launched a kick. Wang Zhan slammed into the back wall like a cannonball. The smile on my face suddenly turned cold. You'd rather risk your life than flip the switch. In truth, it's not that you don't want to, but that you can't. Am I right? Hearing this, Wang Zhan begged piteously, crawling toward me on the floor. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm really not a monster. I ignored his pleas and drove the blade straight down. Wang Zhan was decapitated in an instant. Seeing Wang Zhan's body transform into a monster, everyone froze in shock. If the first time was a fluke, this time, I had once again pinpointed the monster with precision. A flicker of hope ignited within them. Maybe this guy really could lead them out. I didn't care what they thought. thought. After having Zhang Yan stand by my side, I pointed toward the crowd. 2 requirements. First, everyone back up, at least 5 meters away from me, but stay within my sight. Turn on your flashlights and point them at yourselves. Those without phones, find the person closest to you. Move fast. You have 10 seconds. Though confused by my words, seeing my clear commands, they finally found a pillar to lean on, and they all complied. Clack. I flipped the power switch. The corridor plunged into instant darkness. With one quick glance, I could tell they all still looked human. I immediately flipped the switch back. Took barely a second. As the dim lights illuminated the hall once more, everyone breathed a collective sigh of relief. The suspicion in their eyes began to fade. Just then, the faint sound of a door opening echoed. I looked toward the sound. From dorm 418 nearby, a man in pajamas stepped out. Once in the corridor, he glanced around furtively, then bolted in the opposite direction of the crowd. The quicker ones realized immediately, he's trying to escape. He must be a monster. A cold glint flashed in my eyes. A line from the system mission flashed through my mind. The night demon has noticed you. In a flash, just as the man reached the fire door and was about to slip into the stairwell, a sudden whistle of wind cut through the air. A fruit knife plunged precisely into the man's back. The sheer force slammed him to the ground, but even then, he continued to crawl forward with desperate effort. Seeing this, I roared, "Zhang Yan!" Almost the instant I spoke, Zhang Yan shot past me like an arrow from a bow. As the man pushed open the fire door to escape, Zhang Yan finally closed the gap. He violently dragged the man back, leaving only half an arm still gripping the edge of the door. As I strode over, a massive palm reached out from behind the fire door, covered in a layer of greenish, rotting skin. Lunging straight for Zhang Yan's head, my pupils dilated. "Watch out!" Thanks to my warning, Zhang Yan instinctively leaned back, dodging the strike. I pulled him close to me and peered through the half-open door. In the darkness of the stairwell where the light couldn't reach, 2 hulking monsters were looming. One was covered in blue-black rotting skin, its crimson eyes looking as if they were bleeding. The other wore a thin pair of pajamas, stretched to the limit, letting out heavy, ragged breaths. There was a clear difference between them. The one in pajamas was likely blind, just like the one that took Yutongwen's body. But the rotting skin monster seemed more intact, especially its eyes. It could clearly see us. I was secretly alarmed. Does the monster get stronger the more people it consumes? Just then, the others who had run over were terrified by the 2 monsters in the stairwell, hurriedly scrambling backward in fear. I gave a low command, "Flashlights on." Then Zhang Yan and I turned on our lights, shining them directly into the stairwell. Yet the monsters remained unfazed, still staring coldly at the group. Not until a few more people gathered the courage to turn on their lights and join in did the 2 monsters retreat down the stairs. Seeing this, Su Pengju's face lit up. "Everyone, gather round. We'll go down together with the lights on. The monsters are afraid to approach us." The crowd grew excited, looking at me with eyes full of hope, waiting for me to take the first step. I smirked at this shameless display. "Why don't you go down first?" Su Pengju replied as if it were obvious. "You're the strongest one here. Of course you should be at the front. You can't expect us ordinary people to lead. If there's any danger, we wouldn't stand a chance, would we?" Seeing the looks on their faces, I let out a scoff. "Did you all misunderstand something? I only said I had a way to leave this place. When did I ever say I'd take you with me?" The moment I said this, everyone's expression shifted. Panic began to set in. Before this, they were on the verge of collapse. But my superhuman strength in killing monsters had given them a glimmer of hope. Now I was telling them I wouldn't take them. Their newfound hope vanished in an instant. A tall, thin man even fell to his knees before me. Please don't abandon us. Take us with you. We'll do whatever you say." I gave them a cold glance. "If you want to leave this place with me, then you follow my orders. Within 2 minutes, everyone find as many phones as possible. Then gather at dorm 412. Of course, if you're not afraid to die, you can choose to follow Su Pengju down right now." After leaving them with those words, I pulled Zhang Yan back to dorm 412. As soon as I entered, I grabbed a bunch of water bottles from my closet and found a carton of milk on Su Ming's desk. Then I unscrewed the water bottles, pouring a small amount of milk into each one. I shook them gently to mix. While I was preparing them, classmates began arriving one by one with phones. Su Pengju grew impatient. What are you doing with all those water bottles? Isn't this just a waste of everyone's time? I didn't even look up. We need a brighter light. As I spoke, I took the phones they had collected, fixed them to a mop handle, and strapped the milk water bottles over the lights. Using the principle of light refraction, I made the beam significantly brighter, far exceeding a standard flashlight. Everyone's eyes widened, staring at the scene in disbelief. This is the brighter light? It was indeed much stronger than a simple phone light. Su Pengju was ecstatic. If we make a few more of these long-handle lamps, and each of us carries one, we can definitely get downstairs safely. I'll have people go find more phones right now. I stood up and interrupted him. No, there's no time. Night and day cycle every half hour. In less than 5 minutes, it'll be 3 a.m., and the darkness will return. Hearing this, the crowd scrambled, crowding their way out of dorm 412, rushing toward the nearest fire escape, terrified that one wrong step would cost them their lives. But as they reached the fire door, everyone came to a sudden halt, looking back at me with hopeful eyes. Then, Su Pengju's eyes shifted craftily.
Lin Che.
The phones were collected by everyone, but the 2 long-handled fluorescent lights made from them are being used only by you. That's a bit unfair, don't you think? How about this? You and Zhang Yan share one, and the rest of us share the other. What do you say? Of course, it's just a suggestion. I'm only thinking of the group. If you don't agree, just forget I mentioned it. I knew he was trying to guilt-trip me, but I handed over the light anyway. You have a point. Take this for now. A smirk crept onto Su Pengju's lips, smug and triumphant, but before his joy could last, my next words hit him like a bolt, making his eyelids twitch in shock. Now that you have the life-saving tool, why don't you go down and scout the way? If you're unwilling to scout, to make sure you don't trip me up, I'll have to knock you out and leave you here. Su Pengju's face turned deathly pale. Don't knock me out. I'll scout. I'm going down right now. He hurriedly raised the light and stepped through the fire door. On the landing between the 4th and 3rd floors, 2 terrifying werewolf-like monsters still stood tall. Su Pengju gritted his teeth and took 1 step down. The monsters didn't move. He took a 2nd step. Still nothing. It wasn't until the 4th step that the 2 monsters retreated one after another. Seeing this, Su Pengju breathed a sigh of relief, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. But I narrowed my eyes. First, the monster with the blue-black rotting skin retreated. Then came the one in pajamas. There was a clear sequence to their movements, yet there was clearly no verbal communication between them. Could the monsters share information? And there was one more doubt to confirm. Were these monsters truly repelled by the light, or were they intentionally luring us deeper? With that thought, I pointed to the 4 people behind me. You 4, go down too. Stay behind him. The 4 exchanged glances and followed downstairs with a sense of dread. As Su Pengju and the others reached the landing, from my vantage point, the 2 monsters were no longer visible. If the monsters were faking their retreat, they could have leaped over and started a massacre. Now, I was 70% sure that the monsters were indeed repelled by the light. Thinking this, I pulled Zhang Yan into the stairwell and whispered something in his ear. Then I ordered the remaining 5, all of you get inside. Maximize the light for me. Hearing this, the 5 nodded and entered the fire door. At the same time, under the shocked gazes of Su Pengju and the others, Zhang Yan gripped the fluorescent light, planted his feet, and took a professional throwing stance. Then, he hurled it violently toward the 2 monsters below. Almost instantly, the monster with the blue-black rotting skin leaped further down, but the pajama monster was a split second slower. When the bright beam of light struck it, something eerie happened. The pajama monster turned into a blur, racing up the stairs with blinding speed. I whipped my head around and saw in the corridor outside the fire door a young man in pajamas appearing out of thin air. Seeing this, I let out a sharp shout, lunged forward, and drew my fruit knife. With one swift motion, I stabbed it straight into the back of its neck. After killing the pajama monster, I didn't waste another second. I shouted to the remaining 5 to get downstairs. Fast. Then I charged straight down, seeing Su Pengju and the others still standing there dazed. Without a word, I reached out and snatched the light from his hand. Everyone, Keep up, don't fall behind. And so we reached the first-floor lobby. A dozen brutally killed corpses met our eyes, but I only gave them a cursory glance, then headed straight for the dorm manager's room nearby. Unlike ordinary student dorms, the manager's room had a wooden door and an additional external hollow iron gate. And this iron gate was the ultimate reason I came here. I strode into the manager's room, went to the bunk bed in the corner, and began to push the bed. Everyone, come here, help me push this bed to the door first. Everyone obediently sprang into action. Suddenly, someone let out an angry roar. Su Pengju, what the hell are you doing? Everyone looked toward the sound, only to see that Su Pengju had stealthily taken the manager's keys and slammed the iron gate shut, locking everyone inside. You idiots can just wait here to die. The group erupted in curses, but Su Pengju had already vanished with the keys. I coldly silenced the chaos. Ignore him. Help me block the door first. We're running out of time. By then, Su Pengju had reached the main exit, but he found that no matter how he turned the key, the door wouldn't open. Just as Su Pengju was sweating in panic, there was a sudden snap. The key had snapped off inside the lock. The next second, without any warning, all the light vanished instantly. Total darkness descended. Then I heard Su Pengju screaming frantically outside the manager's door, pounding on the door with all his might. Open up! Open up! Someone inside! Open the door. I was wrong. Lin Che, save me one more time. Hearing this miserable plea, someone inside tentatively spoke up. Maybe we should open the door and let him in? The monsters aren't here yet anyway. Before I could speak, someone else refused. It was Su Jio, the guy in glasses who had knelt before me. No way. It's pitch black now. It's extremely dangerous out there. None of us can see a thing. There's nowhere to even run. Someone immediately agreed. Exactly. Besides, Su Pengju intended to lock us all in here to die. Someone that malicious. Why should we even care about him? Just as they were about to keep arguing, I suddenly interrupted them coldly. Everyone, shut up. Haven't you noticed that Su Pengju has gone silent? The monster is already here. The only reason it hasn't attacked yet is likely because it's waiting for us to open the door. Before I could even finish my sentence, a heart-wrenching scream erupted from outside. It hurts. My leg. I think it's broken. Help me. Listening to those piercing screams and the sound of chewing and swallowing, everyone trembled in sheer terror. My heart sank. This monster is truly sinister. It deliberately stayed outside and didn't kill Su Pengju, just waiting for us to let someone in. Once it realized the people inside wouldn't open the door, that's when it decided to strike. Noticing the chewing sounds outside had stopped, I immediately warned everyone. Get ready. It's coming. Almost the instant I spoke, a massive force suddenly slammed into us. The impact left my palms trembling. Everyone pushed the iron bed frame, bracing it firmly against the iron door. Hearing people around me begin to groan in pain, I quickly spoke up to boost morale. Hold the line. The monster's goal is to eat people. As long as we hold out, the monster won't waste its time here. It will definitely look for targets elsewhere. Just hold on until dawn, and I'll find a way to get you all out. Perhaps my words served as motivation, as everyone gave it their all. The iron door didn't give way again. I kept an eye on the time on the system page. Every single second was pure agony. Suddenly, the crashing outside stopped abruptly. The night fell back into a dead silence. It seemed the monster had really left. Seeing everyone relax, I warned them, don't let your guard down yet. 15 more minutes, and the night will end. The atmosphere grew noticeably lighter. A few people started whispering. I frowned. Something felt off. As time ticked by, the unease in my heart intensified. A terrifying thought surfaced in my mind. My voice suddenly rose. Everyone, start counting from me. 10 numbers were called out in succession. A brief silence fell over the room. Suddenly, a confused voice spoke up. Why are there only 10 people? There were clearly 11 of us. Hearing this, though they didn't know what happened, they all sensed something was wrong. The atmosphere instantly became oppressive again. Then Su Jio's nervous voice rang out. I didn't hear Skinny Monkey's voice. Skinny Monkey, where are you? Why didn't you count? Suddenly, a strange, raspy voice drifted over. "I'm over here. I'm so tired." As Skinny Monkey spoke, he emitted a low, beast-like growl. In this pitch-black environment where you couldn't see your own hand, an indescribable eerie feeling haunted everyone's hearts. I had been curious before about how others were parasitized by the monster. Now, there's no need to wonder, because Skinny Monkey is going through it right now. I barked a low command. "Everyone, shut up. Skinny Monkey is being parasitized." Then I pulled the fruit knife from my waist and lunged toward the sound of the heavy breathing. But there was no feeling of a blade cutting through flesh. Instead, it felt like stabbing old tree bark. The tip of the knife, already chipped, was now even harder to drive in. I refused to give up and tried again. Suddenly, an overwhelming wave of terror swept through me. My mind began to scramble. It seems Skinny Monkey has been completely replaced by the monster. As the thought hit me, I quickly backed away, until I had created some distance. Only then did I feel the terror subside slightly. Then someone asked in a panic, "What the hell is happening? How could Skinny Monkey be parasitized? Aren't we continuing to block the door?" But before he could finish, accompanied by a low beastly roar, the man let out a piercing scream. A thick scent of blood instantly filled the room. The group panicked, the sound of things being knocked over echoing. Some even tried to open the door to escape. I quickly hissed to stop them. "Everyone shut up. Don't make a sound. A freshly parasitized monster is blind, can only find people by sound." Just then, the chewing sounds vanished. My heart leaped. I instinctively crouched and shifted my position. Then, a loud crash erupted where I had just been standing. The hair on my body stood on end. I had moved just to be cautious, but I didn't expect it to actually save my life. It seems the night demon has targeted me, making me a priority kill. By now, the others had lost all reason. "The monster is inside. Why are we still staying here? Let's all get out. Stop listening to Lin Che. He just wants us all dead." Then, I heard someone start moving the iron bed, the piercing screech of metal echoing in my ears. I ignored them. I had done more than enough by warning them. Yet some were still rushing to their own deaths. Screams of pain erupted one after another. The sounds of tearing and swallowing echoed throughout. As the final second of 3:29 a.m. passed, a blinding light suddenly burst forth, sweeping away all the darkness. Just as I was adjusting to the glare, the sound of shattering glass rang out. I saw Skinny Monkey wielding a broken beer bottle, charging straight at me. Skinny Monkey used to be as thin as a bamboo pole, but now his muscles were taut and engorged with blood. His speed had increased significantly. In the blink of an eye, he flanked me. Seeing the bottle about to smash into my head, I quickly dodged to the side. Simultaneously, gripping the fruit knife in my right hand, I stabbed violently at Skinny Monkey's abdomen. But Skinny Monkey not only easily evaded my attack, but also slashed a cut across my face. In that instant, I remembered when I first killed a monster, the transcendental skill options the system provided. Specifically, the description of Berserk. Activating this state increases strength and agility by 50%. Damn it, this guy must have activated Berserk. Knowing my agility was inferior, I simply raised my left hand to grab him. Instantly, sharp glass shards pierced through my palm. At the same time, I thrust my right hand forward, stabbing the knife straight into Skinny Monkey's belly. Zhang Yan rushed behind Skinny Monkey, reaching out to grab his hair, leaving Skinny Monkey's throat completely exposed. I seized the chance and drove the knife straight through. In an instant, I decapitated Skinny Monkey. The system's notification sounded at that moment. "You have slain the eerie clone. Current spirit value, 14. Available for exchange." After confirming the kill, I scanned the group. I found that, after this half hour of darkness, only 6 people had survived. I waved my hand toward them. "Pull yourselves together. Now is not the time to rest. Everyone, gather our homemade lights quickly, and prepare to evacuate." Then, enduring the pain, I pulled the larger glass shards out of my palm. Then I tore a piece of cloth and wrapped it around. The others watched, their eyes twitching. Su Jiao looked at me with concern. "Maybe we should find a first aid kit first, disinfect it and then bandage it. Otherwise, an infection would be bad." I shook my head. No time to deal with this. Perhaps because of the massive boost to my physical attributes. Although I felt the pain, it wasn't as unbearable as I imagined. Seeing that everyone was ready, Zhang Yan was holding 2 long-handled homemade fluorescent lights. The phones inside serving as light sources still had plenty of battery. Suddenly, a thought struck me. I remembered that, to get on the good side of the dorm manager, I had given him a multifunctional high-intensity flashlight. It's a common item, so he should have kept it somewhere within easy reach. With that in mind, I searched the surrounding area. I soon found the flashlight on a windowsill in the corner. I did a quick check on the flashlight and found all its functions were working perfectly. After seeing there were still 2 bars of battery left, I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. With this, my safety margin would increase significantly. Just then, Sujio had a question. What do we do next? The main exit has been sealed by some unknown force. How on earth are we supposed to get out of here? Hearing this, I turned my head toward the window. There's only one way to leave this place. Climb to the roof and jump. As soon as I said this, everyone's expression changed drastically. Sujio couldn't believe his ears. This dorm is 11 stories high. Isn't jumping down suicide? Are you sure this is really the way out? I waved my hand. I've fulfilled my promise by telling you how to leave. I've also demonstrated the homemade lights for you. Whether you choose to believe me, is up to you. I have other things to attend to now. Let's part ways here. Zhang Yan was only stunned for a moment. Then his expression returned to normal. The others, however, began to panic. I ignored their reactions. While speaking, I had already exchanged another attribute point. Increasing my strength was the top priority right now. This was the capital for survival. Considering how clumsy I felt when facing the skinny monkey's frenzy, I put this single attribute point into agility. You have used 1 attribute point. Your agility +1. Current agility 6. As the system notifications flashed by, a tingling sensation surged through my entire body. The muscles in my body became leaner and stronger. Although the change was subtle, everyone was already on edge, so they naturally noticed the anomaly. Sujio's eyes flickered. I believe Lin Che. Because the crisis we're facing now, cannot be judged by common sense. One wrong step could mean death. After speaking, Sujio stared intently at me. In short, I believe whatever you say, but from now on, I hope you can. Let me move with you. Don't worry, I definitely won't get in the way. Hearing this, the others also began to pledge their loyalty. Let me follow you too. I don't mind being the scout. Me too. After all, with so many of us, we can always lend you a hand. Seeing everyone's strong desire to follow me, I nodded slightly. We had just faced death together. Since you trust me this much, I certainly won't let you down. But let's get the ugly part out of the way first. We are at a critical moment of survival. From now on, everything revolves around me. Any order I give, must be executed unconditionally. Otherwise, don't blame me if I turn on you. Hearing my words, everyone agreed in unison, terrified that I might change my mind. I checked the time. 3 minutes had already passed. I immediately led the group out of the manager's room. On the way, I explained the next plan to everyone. I'm looking for a woman named Chu Ting, but I'm not sure where she is. So, once we enter a new floor, we need to shout Chu Ting's name first, and then search for other survivors. To avoid monsters disguised as survivors, we'll perform a light-off test before entering the hallway. In short, our main goals are 3 things. First, find Chu Ting. Second, search for survivors. Third, slay the monsters. Any questions? Everyone nodded in understanding. Then, Sujio looked at me hesitantly. Lin Che, you probably need weapons, right? I remember a sword enthusiast named Li Chao on the 1st floor. His dorm should have several sharpened blades. My eyes lit up instantly. Which room is he in? Sujio lowered his head to think for a moment before looking back at me. Room 115. I'll take you there now. I nodded. Then I turned to the others. Proceed according to the plan. Sujio, Zhang Yan, and I will scout the 1st floor first. Yang Huancheng, He Ruhai, Chan Inghao, you 3 make another long-handled fluorescent light. After speaking, I beckoned. I directed Zhang Yan to turn left and scout the rooms. Then Sujio and I headed to the right. The 2 of us walked quickly, but found no survivors. All the doors along the way were open, revealing bloody scenes at a single glance. But to be safe, I still shouted Chu Ting's name, hoping she would come out if she heard me. Soon, we arrived in front of room 115. Inside the 4-person dorm, 3 corpses lay sprawled. Sujio looked around, walked straight to the innermost wardrobe, and took out 3 cold weapons to hand to me. Before my eyes were a tang blade, a shochuan blade, and an 8-sided Han sword over 2 meters long. I was originally going to choose the tang or shochuan blade, but after taking them from Sujio, my mind changed instantly. Although all 3 were sharpened, the tang and shochuan blades were too light. However, the 8-sided Han sword had a powerful weight. Felt like it weighed around 10 caddies. With a sudden swing, the wardrobe door snapped clean in 2. I handed the shochuan blade to Sujio and saved the tang blade for Zhang Yan. Take this shochuan blade for self-defense. Unexpectedly, Sujio pushed it back. Give it to Chan Yinghao. He's much bulkier than I am. It's more suitable for him. Seeing Sujio's hesitant expression, I narrowed my eyes. You deliberately called me out here. Just say what's on your mind. Hearing this, Sujio's face flushed. I know you don't actually want to act alone. After all, you'll be safer with us. But I hope you don't treat me as a pawn, like Chan Yinghao and the others. After all, my intellect can be of use to you. For example, just now, the others followed you voluntarily under my guidance. And if we encounter danger later, I have a way to make them cover our retreat. After speaking, Sujio adjusted his glasses, eagerly awaiting my response. I sensed his true intention. He sounded so noble and righteous, but in reality he was afraid that jumping off the roof was a lie. That's why he insisted on following me. I won't expose him. 2 minutes are up. As for your proposal, let's see if you can even make it out alive first. Sujio's face flushed red. He wanted to say more. Suddenly, Zhang Yan's voice echoed from outside. Enough, stop your whining. Your brother Yan will handle this for you. As long as you don't pull any stunts. Brother Lin definitely won't screw you over. As he spoke, Zhang Yan walked in. His eyes lit up when he saw the blades in my hand. Holy crap, so much great gear. Give me this blade. Zhang Yan took the tang sword and spun it skillfully. A look of pure joy on his face. I turned to Sujio with a smirk. You see it now. Brother Yan is the real boss. You pledged your loyalty to the wrong person. With that, I put my arm around Zhang Yan and walked out. After regrouping with the 3 making the daylight lamps, I led them to the 3rd floor to search. Just as we reached the 3rd floor, I faintly heard a noise coming from the last dormitory. Matao, are you really okay with that much blood on your head? Maybe we should call 120 first. Then I heard a response. Oh, come on. I told you I'm fine, but my head hurts a bit. Turn off the lights first. Hearing this, I narrowed my eyes. Matao, the monster that escaped from the 4th floor. I didn't expect him to end up here, so I sent Zhang Yan and the others to search elsewhere. Then I rushed to the last room and kicked the door open. The people inside were startled by the noise. They scrambled into the corners. Seeing me enter, Ma Tao stopped hiding. He swung his arms and lunged at me. I took a small step back and delivered a horizontal slash with one hand. The 10-pound high-carbon steel sword felt weightless in my swing. The next moment, Ma Tao's head flew high into the air. In less than 5 seconds, I had decapitated him. Ma Tao's body on the floor transformed into a monster. You have slain a ghostly clone. Current spirit value, 21. Available for exchange. Hearing this, I immediately increased my agility to 8. Just then, a terrified voice screamed beside me. Why did you kill him? I turned around. The 4 survivors were scared shitless. They could barely stand. To be safe, I turned off the lights to test them. Fortunately, the 4 remained human. Seeing this, I turned and walked away quickly. No time to explain. The dorms are dangerous. If you want to live, follow me now. As soon as I finished speaking, the 4 of them chased after me, screaming. Once outside, I regrouped with Zhang Yan. He excitedly told me he had just killed a monster on his own. I was slightly surprised. Do you feel anything different? Zhang Yan gave an exaggerated grin. My whole body aches, but it feels amazing. I feel my muscles pumping and tightening. I paused for a moment. Nothing else? Like any strange sounds or weird things appearing in your vision? Zhang Yan stretched his body. Nope. I just feel like I've gotten a bit stronger. Could killing monsters improve physical stats? That would be awesome. I felt a bit disappointed. It seems Zhang Yan failed to awaken a talent. After a short break, I led the group upstairs with more people. Searching became much easier, but we'd already cleared most of the floors, and there was still no sign of Chu Ting. However, I wasn't too discouraged. After all, my strength was steadily growing. If I still can't find her by the end, I'll storm room 1104 alone. I'll do my best and leave the rest to fate. On the way to the 7th floor, I suddenly stopped. Quiet. Something's wrong. Everyone behind me went silent. I flicked my flashlight upward. I saw several massive figures looking down at us. I waved my hand to the group. Charge. Then I strode up the stairs. We soon reached the 7th floor. The lights here were completely out. Under the beam of the powerful flashlight, I saw the hallway littered with severed limbs. Couldn't help but frown. Everyone here must be dead. Shout and see if Chu Ting is here. Following my orders, the group shouted several times down the hallway, but there was no response. Next, I led them to the 8th floor. After opening the fire door, everyone froze in their tracks. 2 iron bed frames were wedged behind the door. Through the gaps in the frames, I could see wooden planks and other heavy objects blocking the way. Zhang Yan tried to push them. They didn't budge an inch. Then, a commotion erupted from behind the door. Hold it, another ghost is trying to get in. Don't panic, it's daytime. Let the ghost in, and we'll kill it together. Hearing this, I narrowed my eyes. I stepped forward and delivered a kick. I stepped forward and kicked again. The iron bed frame immediately buckled. I tore open a gap and slipped inside. Entering the 8th floor hallway, I saw over 20 people on high alert. The leader, a young man with a buzz cut, looked at me warily. Don't crowd together. Those with weapons, get to the front. Let's make this quick. Kill this ghost. At his command, several men armed with steel pipes stepped forward. At the same time, Su Jiao and the others squeezed through the gap. Everyone, don't be rash. We're not monsters. Panting, Su Jiao grabbed my shoulder. Jiang Tong, don't misunderstand. We all came up with Lin Che. Let's not fight among ourselves. Jiang Tong sneered. Who the hell is Lin Che? I've never heard of him. This building is crawling with monsters. How could you possibly make it up here? Unless it was that woman. Hearing that, I stepped instantly to Jiang Tong's side and rested my sword on his shoulder. Who is that woman? The fact that so many of you survived is because of her? Jiang Tong immediately raised his hands. Brother, don't be rash. This is all a misunderstanding. I flicked my wrist. The blade easily sliced a bloody gash into his neck. I don't have time for your nonsense. Just tell me her name. Jiang Tong didn't dare to move an inch. Her name is Chu Ting. The moment I heard Chu Ting's name, I felt a huge weight finally lift from my heart. I slowly lowered my sword. Do you know where she is? Sensing the coldness in my eyes, Jiang Tong didn't dare hide anything. I don't know, but she said she was looking for some node and told us to wait for her here. I don't know anything else. Hearing this, for words flashed through my mind. Ritual node. It seems Chu Ting knows something. Then I scanned the survivors on the 8th floor. About 40 people. It looks like this was all Chu Ting's doing. Then Jiang Tong cautiously tried to probe. Brother, your name is Lin Che, right? We're all human. There's no need to be so hostile. Before Sister Ting left, she said, as long as we stay by the fire door and don't enter the dorm rooms, we won't be parasitized by the specters. She'll come back to save us, so you don't have to keep risking your lives. Why not stay here and wait for Sister Ting? Saying this, Jiang Tong pulled a piece of black jade from his pocket and handed it to me. Sister Ting gave this to me. The energy field it emits is enough to protect us for a short while. I took it and rubbed it, felt cold and smooth. Besides the word guard on the front, the back was covered in tiny inscriptions. Serial number 09527. It's actually man-made. After returning the jade to Jiang Tong, I patted him. We're gonna find Chu Ting now. You can choose to keep hiding here, or come with me. Hearing this, Jiang Tong shook his head repeatedly. Nightfall is only 10 minutes away. Maybe you should stay here a bit longer. Perhaps by the next dawn, Sister Ting will return on her own. I didn't try to persuade him further. After all, my goal in searching for survivors isn't that noble. It's just to keep the monsters from eating too many people, so their evolution slows down. These people should be safe for the time being. As for after 4 a.m., that's beyond my control. However, my indifferent attitude made Jiang Tong start to hesitate. Just then, Su Jiao spoke up. We fought our way up from the bottom floor. We should be able to find Chu Ting upstairs. Besides, Lin Che has already killed over a dozen monsters, and he knows a way out. Jiang Tong was shocked. What? You've already killed that many Spectre clones? And you know an exit that even Sister Ting doesn't know? At this, Jiang Tong looked at me with determination. Waiting around to be saved is not as good as saving yourself. I'm coming with you. But when the others heard Jiang Tong was leaving with me, the rest of the people on the 8th floor instantly became agitated. Jiang Tong, if you're leaving, leave the black jade behind. Yeah. If you want to go, go alone. Don't screw us over. Hearing this, Jiang Tong suddenly burst out laughing. First of all, I was the first person Sister Ting found. It was me who secretly led her into the dorms at night, which is why you lot are even here to complain. Secondly, Sister Ting lent me this jade because I helped her. That's the only reason she gave it to me. It has nothing to do with any of you. Got it? Seeing that the crowd was still dissatisfied, I waved my hand. Jiang Tong, don't waste your breath on them. Let's go. Zhang Yan, Chuning Hao, you two cover the rear. Ignore those who want to come with us. But if anyone dares to cause trouble, cut them down immediately. I made no effort to hide the killing intent in my voice. Combined with my current appearance, I looked more terrifying than a movie slasher. Seeing this, the crowd didn't dare say another word. They could only watch helplessly as Jiang Tong left with me. Zhang Yan and the other two, following orders, blocked the hallway with their blades. Seeing that no one moved, they finally retreated up the stairs. After I reached the 9th floor, my expression immediately tightened. Because most of the dorm doors I saw were still intact, there were only two possibilities. Either the students were lured by monsters to open the doors themselves, or the monsters opened them after eating everyone inside. It seems that beyond the 8th floor, the higher we go, the more people are parasitized. Seeing the situation, Jiang Tong pulled me back. I remember Sister Ting saying that parasitism isn't an all-at-once process, but happens gradually. The more people the specters eat, the more energy they gain. Once the main specter receives a certain energy feedback, it can create more clones to parasitize humans. Hearing this, a thought occurred to me. This certain energy, perhaps it's spirituality, but I didn't dwell on it for too long. Noticing that Zhang Yan and Chun Yinghao had caught up, I immediately waved to the group. Keep searching. Suddenly, the ceiling lights went out. The entire 9th floor plunged into darkness, leaving only the light around the group by the fire door. I instinctively gripped the hilt of my sword. Everyone, be careful. The main switch on the 1st floor might have been turned off. Don't panic. Stick to the original plan. Keep your lights up and don't block them. But before I could finish, the sound of a door opening echoed from the distance. Then, a monster with blue-black, rotting skin leaped toward us. I quickly shone my powerful flashlight at it. In an instant, the monster became a blur, vanishing into a blind spot. Everyone was stunned by this terrifying sight. Jiang Tong swallowed hard. What do we do now? Do we really have to keep searching? I patted him reassuringly. The arrow is already on the string. There's no turning back. Chu Ting might be in one of these rooms. We've come too far to back down now. I checked the time. It was already 3:50. I immediately gave orders to the group. Chuning Hao, Zhang Yan, take 3 people and search the left side. Blades in front, lights in back. He Ruhai, Yang Huanqing, you two come with me to the right. Make sure to keep those long fluorescent lamps ready. Su Yiu, you and the rest stay here and regroup. Be ready to provide light support if anything happens. With that, I switched on my flashlight and chased after the monster. Just then, Jiang Tong's shout stopped me. Lin Che, wait, I'm coming with you. I nodded. After leading the 3 of them into the right corridor, I saw that in dorm 903 not far away, a monster lunged out once again. It roared, trying to pounce on us, but under the light, turned into a blur and retreated back into the room. This happened several times. The monster became exceptionally enraged. Seeing this, I slowed my pace. I didn't just rush in blindly, but used the light to scan nearby rooms during the gaps, checking if other monsters were lying in ambush. After all, I didn't want to be attacked from both sides. Seeing this, Jiang Tong stuck close to my side. What's going on? This is insane. Maybe we should just go back. This is too dangerous. Jiang Tong wanted to keep persuading me, but I had already taken advantage of the monster's retreat and strode forward. Jiang Tong and I arrived at the door of dorm 903. Under the beam of the floodlight, the enemy could no longer maintain its monstrous form, freezing into the image of a naked student. Upon seeing us, it roared and lunged to bite. Then, with a flash of cold steel, I sliced the monster clean in two. Stunned, Jiang Tong took a few steps forward. Holy crap, since when were you this badass? I flicked the blood off my blade. Jiang Tong, Hold the light and stay behind me. Ruhai,
Yang Huancheng.
go check for any stragglers, but don't wander too far. As I spoke, I converted the 20 spirituality points gained from the kill into 2 attribute points. System, add 1 point to my agility and 1 to my strength. However, the system's prompt made me frown. Your agility and strength attributes have both reached their limit. No further increase is possible. Break the attribute limit by increasing your personal level. I thought about it and finally put the points into spirit. In an instant, I felt my mind clear up, and my thinking became much sharper. After gathering myself, I led Jiang Tong to continue searching ahead. For now, most of the dorm doors were intact, and there were only 3 corpses inside. Clearly, these were rooms where people had been parasitized. Soon, we reached the last dormitory. The door here was still intact, half open just like most of the others. Just as I was about to push the door open, a cold female voice suddenly echoed in my mind. Watch out, it's an ambush. Hearing this, I quickly pulled Jiang Tong back. Get back now. Right then, the half-open door was smashed open from the inside by a massive force. The entire door shattered with a crash. A massive figure with bluish-black rotting skin charged straight at us. If I hadn't stepped back in time, this monster would have been right in my face. Seeing that the enemy had gone berserk, I swung my sword and killed it instantly. However, I couldn't relax, because within my line of sight, the room was crowded with 5 werewolf-like monsters. As the first monster fell, the other 5 in the room lunged toward us, reverting to human form under the light, surrounding Jiang Tong and me. I was secretly alarmed. The first monster to charge out was actually a decoy. I immediately realized our situation was dire. I saw the 5 monsters, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and 1 directly behind us, and the one behind was practically pressed against Jiang Tong's back. Jiang Tong is in danger. All these thoughts flashed by in a single second. The sharp thinking provided by 10 points of spirit allowed me to react almost instinctively, charging straight to the right. Then, with a flash of cold steel, the humanoid monster's head hit the floor. You have slain a phantom clone. Current spirituality plus 40. Your spirituality plus 20. Current spirituality plus 40. Current spirituality 40. Suddenly, I felt a surge of intense terror coming from behind, so I spun around and swung my sword diagonally. With a loud clang, the broadsword clashed with a giant palm, leaving my hand numb from the impact. Immediately after, the monster's other claw followed. I barely managed to lean away from the fatal blow, but my chest was clawed. Enduring the searing pain in my chest, I swung a horizontal slash before the enemy could go berserk, finally beheading the creature. Quickly looked back, only to see a stocky youth, now berserk, roaring as he throttled Jiang Tong with both hands. Jiang Tong's face was flushed red, but the long fluorescent tube in his hand hadn't fallen. The 2 monsters slightly further to the left had initially been tied up by Ruhai and the other, but once they entered their berserk state, Ruhai and Yang Huanqing were no match for them. They didn't even last 5 seconds before losing all ability to fight. Not only were their heads pummeled, but half of Ruhai's ear was bitten off, and without the light of the fluorescent tube, those 2 monsters shifted into bluish-black rotting werewolves, charging straight at me to kill. Seeing this, I quickly switched on the high-intensity flashlight, forcing the 2 monsters back into human form. I steadied my nerves, and first charged with my sword toward the stocky youth choking Jiang Tong. But the injury to my chest made this strike significantly slower. It only managed to carve a deep gash into the enemy's head. The stocky youth was instantly enraged, going berserk and charging at me. I gritted my teeth and delivered a series of slashes, and it took the second strike to sever his head. You have slain a phantom clone. Exchangeable. Current spirituality 80. Exchangeable. Exchangeable. Meanwhile, the last 2 monsters took advantage of the shadows, attacking me simultaneously. However, I had already noticed them, and immediately used the floodlight to illuminate the area. The 2 reverted to humans once more. These 2 monsters roared frantically, charging in their human forms while berserk. Perhaps due to the heavy blood loss, I felt slightly dizzy, and my movements and reactions had slowed, so I quickly summoned the system. System, go all in on mixed martial arts with all my spirituality points. As a series of system prompts appeared, my fighting skill had upgraded to level 4, expert. I immediately noticed that the skill level increase. Consumed points at an exponential rate. To reach level 5, it would require 80 spirituality points. This is absolutely insane. But immediately after, I felt that spending so many points was not a waste at all, because in my mind, a flood of fighting techniques and knowledge surged. I instinctively felt as if I had undergone years of actual combat. In just this one instant, I went from a complete rookie to the top tier. So I instantly raised my sword to meet them. The faster one was met with a front kick, collapsing on the spot like a broken puppet. The other monster following close behind tried to grab my waist, only to be met squarely by my rising knee. Before that, I only relied on my overwhelming advantage in agility and strength. But now that my mixed martial arts has reached level 4, in my eyes, these human-like monsters are full of openings. Then, I swung my blade, and the heads of 2 monsters rolled. With that, I had slain all 6 monsters, gaining a total of 120 spirit points, and barely half a minute had passed. Meanwhile, the dozen or so people resting by the fire door heard the sounds of fighting, and rushed over with their long-handled lights to help. He Ruhai and Yang Huanqing struggled to get up from the ground, their faces covered in bruises. Fortunately, while searching the stairs, Su Jiao found a first aid kit, which was perfect for some basic treatment. Jiang Tong clutched his throat, coughing violently. I almost got choked to death. Suddenly, from the other end of the corridor, came Zhang Yan's roar. D. Clearly, Zhang Yan and Chun Yinghao had also been ambushed.
He rushed over.
From Zhang Yan's account, I learned that although they only faced 2 monsters, without any warning, Chun Yinghao was blindsided immediately, leaving him no room to use his spring autumn blade. If Zhang Yan hadn't reacted quickly, Chun Yinghao would likely have been insta-killed. But even so, a chunk of flesh had been torn from Chun Yinghao's neck. Obviously, while the monsters focused their main force on me, they didn't ignore Zhang Yan's side. This was a premeditated ambush. I was incredibly glad I had prepared in advance. Likewise, if it weren't for that voice's warning, the moment I was ambushed, even if I didn't die, I would have been pinned down. I still felt a lingering fear. At the same time, I wondered, who exactly was that voice in my ear? Could it be Chu Ting? Regardless, another hurdle cleared. I shook my numb head and focused on the system prompts popping up. You are currently bleeding. Current status. You will lose 10 HP per hour. Current HP 85. I looked down at my chest. The blood that had been spurting out was now only slowly seeping. After losing so much blood, I've only lost 15 HP. I guess this counts as a minor injury. For an ordinary person, they would have gone into shock and fainted from blood loss. What surprised me even more was another system prompt appearing. Your basic swordsmanship has reached LV1. Novice. This was an unexpected bonus. I took off my jacket, took the iodine from Su Jiao and poured it on my chest, wrapped it haphazardly with cloth, and turned to head upstairs. Just then, Jiang Tong stopped me. There's less than 10 minutes until nightfall. Maybe we should go back to the 8th floor to recover, and wait until the next day. I turned to look at the worried Jiang Tong, the silent Su Jiao, and Chun Yinghao, whose neck was still bleeding. Couldn't help but sigh deeply. To be honest, me bringing you along wasn't an act of selfless charity. We're all just getting what we need. At this stage, you don't need to thank me, nor do you owe me anything. Likewise, I can't make any guarantees for you. There are only 2 floors left. As for how to proceed, you can choose for yourselves. Having said that, I strode toward the stairwell. Zhang Yan was the first to follow me. Stop talking, let's just do this. And although Jiang Tong kept grumbling, he followed closely behind. Damn it, I totally regret this now. If I'd known, I would have stayed on the 8th floor. Now, if I die, I'm dying with you. Then came Su Jiao and the other survivors, all agreeing to follow, not a single one falling behind. Seeing this, a smirk played on my lips. Good. Then come with me and carve out a path to survival. A few simple words, yet they ignited everyone's fighting spirit. However, as soon as I entered the stairwell, I saw 2 people tumbling down, crawling in panic. I looked up, and on the landing, A monster was gnawing on a body, while another was pinning down a living person, who screamed piteously but couldn't break free. As the beam of my powerful flashlight swept over, the monster instantly turned into a blur and vanished. Jiang Tong trembled slightly behind me. These were people from the 8th floor. Why did they come up here on their own? But I ignored them and continued rushing toward the 10th floor. Entering the 10th floor, corpses littered the ground, some human, some monster. When the group reached the corridor, they all looked to the right in horror. Deep in the right corridor, about 20 meters away, numerous tall, blue-black, rotting-skinned monsters were pouncing and slamming against a crystal-like transparent wall. The crystal wall was pale blue, looking like some kind of high-tech product. With every collision from the monsters, the pale blue wall shook violently, as if it wouldn't be long before the wall would give way. The monsters were crowded together, at least 20 of them. The floodlight of the flashlight hit them, and most of them reverted to human appearance. But because there were so many, some monsters in the back were out of the light, remaining in their monster forms, continuing to slam against the crystal wall. Through the gaps between the monsters, I could faintly see someone behind the crystal wall. I instinctively stepped forward, shooting. As I spoke, the monsters all turned around. Under the glare of the flashlight, although they still looked human, they were baring their teeth at me. Then that familiar voice echoed in my mind again. "Don't come closer." I immediately realized this was the same voice I heard on the 9th floor. Zhang Yan turned to look at me. "What's the word?" It seemed he hadn't heard the voice. I gave him a smirk. "Charge." Then I handed the flashlight to Su Jiao. "Keep the light on us." Zhang Yan took a long-handled light from someone behind him with his left hand. "Let's go all out. Don't overthink it. I'll lead the charge." I didn't refuse Zhang Yan's help. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward. Only 7 minutes left. I have nowhere left to retreat. If I can't even handle these human form, small fry, how could I possibly face the night demon itself? All fear and hesitation had long been replaced by a fierce will to survive. Fighting my way from the 1st floor to here, I could only keep moving forward. I whispered in my mind, "System, convert all spirituality points into skill points. All in on basic swordsmanship." In a flash of thought, 40 spirituality points were converted. Basic swordsmanship instantly rose to LV3 proficiency. In that split second, I felt a strange sense of time slipping away. A flood of sword techniques surged into my mind. It felt as if I had become a true swordsman. Suddenly, an indescribable heat rushed through my heart. I shifted from a brisk walk to a full sprint. This seemed to provoke the monsters ahead. They stopped ramming the crystal wall and instead lunged toward me with savage roars. With a sudden leap, my knee slammed into the first monster's face like a cannonball. His facial bones collapsed instantly. As it fell, it knocked over the two behind it. Just then, one from each side reached out to grab me. I dodged their grasping arms and swung my long sword in a horizontal slash. The head of the one in front left flew off instantly. With the first strike successful, I didn't rush blindly forward. Instead, I crouched and retreated, once again dodging the swarm of reaching hands. Then, following the momentum, I swung my blade, cutting down another monster. Suddenly, I spotted someone charging from the right. He let the Han sword pierce right through his stomach and bit down hard on my arm. At the same time, another lunged from the front left, grabbing the wooden handle of the fluorescent lamp in my left hand. With a loud crack, it snapped, and the jagged edge stabbed toward my eye. I quickly jammed the remaining piece of wood into its eye socket. Then, gripping the sword with both hands, I used brute force to plow through the crowd. While knocking down several of them, I swung my arms and sliced through 2 monsters. Then I glanced at the broken makeshift lamp on the ground. I chose not to pick it up, but instead spun in place with my sword held tight. A sweeping strike like a whirlwind, and 2 more heads were severed. Your spirituality points plus 20. Current spirituality points, 100, available for exchange. In just one encounter, in less than 10 seconds, I had already slain 5 Wraith clones. However, my previous wounds began to bleed again. The system flashed continuous warnings of decreasing health, leaving me no choice but to end this quickly. Holding my breath, I continued to slash and kill. Fortunately, Zhang Yan and Chun Yinghao rushed in with their blades, easing a significant amount of pressure off me. Only then could I spare some attention for the system page. Your spirituality points have reached 100. Spend 100 spirituality points to increase personal level. Current personal level LV1. My eyes flickered. So, accumulating 100 points allows a level up. But in this critical moment, I had to ensure that the use of these points would provide an immediate boost in strength. So, I decisively took these 100 spirituality points and converted them all into skill points. All in on basic swordsmanship again. Your basic swordsmanship has reached LVMAX. Perfect. Remaining skill points, 0. The moment the system's voice faded, I felt as if I had ascended to a whole new realm. Is this still basic swordsmanship? I felt like I could start my own sect. Just then, the blade in Zhang Yan's hand suddenly snapped, and Chun Yinghao's spring and autumn blade was chipped, stuck in a head and unable to be pulled out immediately. In an instant, he was tackled to the ground. In just a second or two, they both fell into extreme peril. Seeing this, I charged forward with my sword, easily rescuing them both. By now, more blood seeped from my chest and back, completely soaking through the bandages. Though my injuries had worsened, and my speed and strength had declined, my combat power had actually increased. Gripping the sword with both hands, it felt as if I had swung the blade 1,000,000 times. Day and night. Every strike was flawlessly sharp. Meanwhile, behind me, Su Jiao was standing on a stool to provide light, but the light began to dim. Su Jiao gritted his teeth, pointing in several directions. You guys, throw all the fluorescent lamps over there. The rest of you, hold the lamps and push from behind. Remember to keep your distance. Don't get in their way. Hearing the voices from behind, I felt a slight sense of relief while fighting. I abandoned the thought of retreating and severed another head. Then I looked around, seeing only 9 monsters left. They had all gone berserk, baring their fangs as they lunged at us, and the transparent crystal wall ahead was now mostly visible. I clearly saw someone sitting against the wall, a woman with her hair in a ponytail, glancing in this direction. This must be Chu Ting. Behind her stood 7 or 8 other survivors. They looked like students from the 10th floor, now trapped inside, their expressions filled with extreme anxiety. I didn't have much time to observe. I tightened my grip with my numb hands, then suddenly pierced through someone's throat. This 8-sided Han sword, which was quite handy, under my continuous hacking and slashing, had become riddled with notches. The flashlight began to flicker as the battery died. Just as the light was about to go out, a long-handled fluorescent lamp flew through the air in an arc, preventing the remaining monster from transforming into a werewolf. The makeshift lamp lit up the surroundings again. A smirk played on my lips, feeling an invisible surge of strength. The iron sword in my hand became even more lethal. As I continued to slay the monsters, my spirituality points grew rapidly. The count reached 100 once again. Just when I thought I could easily finish off the last 4, the 4 of them suddenly acted as if possessed. They all began to tremble violently, clutching their heads and growling low, as if enduring immense agony. Seeing this, I swung my sword in a wide arc. The first one was decapitated instantly. The second one was next. But before I could strike, the second one's head exploded violently, leaving behind a headless monster corpse. My heart skipped a beat. I had a feeling something was wrong. Not daring to pause for a second, I slashed toward the third one. Just then, an anxious voice echoed in my mind. Stop! But it was already too late. My blade had already fallen. The monster suddenly twisted and expanded, its body surging to over 2 meters tall. My heavy, powerful strike landed, but it only penetrated a few inches, blocked by one of its sharp claws. I couldn't cut any deeper. Then I felt a massive force that left my hands numb from the impact. For a moment I panicked. How is this possible? The light is still here, so why did it transform into a werewolf? Moreover, looking at its appearance, it was clearly different from the blue-black decayed monsters. Then, the voice echoed in my mind once more. It was forcibly infused with spirituality, and has become a C-rank wraith. When taking damage or facing a lethal threat, it immediately transforms into a grotesque form. My scalp tingled in fear hearing that. Seeing the wolf's bristles stand on end, I immediately knew I was in trouble. The speed was far too great. I could only barely retreat and brace myself to defend. But the moment my sword slashed into it, I was sent reeling backward. The black bristle werewolf didn't stop for a second, lunging at me again. I rolled away to avoid a fatal blow, but before I could even stand up, a scream erupted from behind me. I whipped my head around, only to see the werewolf rip through someone's throat. With a casual swipe of its claws, another person's head was shattered to pieces. Terrified, the crowd scrambled backward. After gorging itself on flesh and blood, the werewolf leaped toward me once more. I had no choice but to keep dodging. In less than 5 seconds, 2 more people were slaughtered in its path. I noticed that after every 2 bites of flesh, the werewolf would stop instantly, then lunge at me again. It seemed eating was just an instinct, while killing me was the primary goal. After careful observation, I realized this black bristle werewolf only knew how to pounce, scratch, and bite. It relied solely on speed and brute force. After a moment's thought, I made my decision. System: exchange 8 skill points. Upgrade my mixed martial arts. 8 skill points exchanged. Your MMA level has been raised to LV max. Perfect. Remaining skill points 0. As my MMA reached max level, I felt a massive difference, not just in technique, but in my mindset as well. I was completely different from before. I felt that even in a desperate situation, I could maintain a calm and steady mind. While I was upgrading my skill, the werewolf lunged at me again. Taking advantage of the gap while dodging, I bent down and grabbed a fresh corpse. Then I hurled the body at the werewolf. The beast excitedly snatched the corpse, crunching and chewing wildly. Just as it leaned down to devour the organs, I had already quietly slipped behind it. 1 strike, 1 kill. This massive head rolled across the floor. You have slain the eerie clone. Spirituality plus 30. Current spirituality 70. Finally, that werewolf is dead. I was nearly exhausted, blood seeping from wounds all over my body. But before I could breathe a sigh of relief, the 4th and final survivor suddenly stood up and lunged violently at me. Too late to dodge, I could only cross my sword to block. The 8-sided Han sword finally succumbed to the force, snapping clean in half. Then I was sent flying by the werewolf. I struggled to crawl back up, looking up to see the wolf staring at me with crazed, crimson eyes. It began walking toward me slowly. Seeing this, I scrambled backward.
I'm screwed.
This wolf had clearly learned from its previous mistakes. It wasn't blindly charging anymore. Cautious werewolf like this, even at my peak, it would have been a nightmare to deal with, let alone now while I'm bleeding out. I shook my head to clear it. No, I've come too far. I absolutely cannot give up. Just as the distance between us closed to under 3 meters, the werewolf suddenly moved, opening its maw to swallow me whole. I gripped my sword in one hand and thrust it at its neck. Just as those jaws were about to snap shut on me, the werewolf's head was struck as if by a heavy sledgehammer, jerking violently to the side. Suddenly, 3 loud bangs echoed. Bloody holes appeared in succession in the wolf's head. The next second, the towering beast crashed to the ground. I turned my head and saw that the crystal wall had vanished. Standing before me was a tall, slender woman. Her jet-black hair was tied up high, revealing a refined face without a trace of makeup. In her hand, she held a handgun with an absurdly large caliber. Seeing the crisis over, the scattered crowd gathered back together, holding their makeshift flashlights. Then the woman pulled me up. I told you to leave. Why didn't you? Searching for me since the first floor. What exactly is your goal? How did you even know I was here? I couldn't tell her about my foresight. Just as I was about to give a vague answer, the woman suddenly smirked. You're planning to lie to me, aren't you? I was startled by her words. Looking at the woman in her combat gear, I suddenly felt she was incredibly mysterious. Seeing my shock, she tossed me a small blue pill. Take this first. It'll help with your injuries. Let me give you a lesson. Manage your facial expressions before you lie. As I took the blue pill, the system immediately prompted. Spiritual item detected. Spend 1 spirit point to view information. View my ass. I swallowed it in 1 gulp. The system prompted again. Bleeding status paused. Current state: restore 1 HP per minute. Duration: 15 minutes. Current HP: 65. Current spirit points: 60. Then the woman's voice rang out again. Do you feel it? This medicine suppresses injuries and triggers internal spirituality to repair the body, restoring a certain amount of HP. Now then, continue answering my question. My lip twitched. You must be Chu Ting. Time is tight. I have only one reason for finding you. The ritual node is in dorm 1104. Can you help me sabotage the night demon's promotion ritual? I stared intently into her eyes as I spoke. Chu Ting's eyes widened in shock. You even know about that? Exactly what kind of talent did you awaken? Wait, why do you want to sabotage the night demon's ritual? This isn't some system quest of yours, is it? Chu Ting's lips didn't move, but her voice echoed in my mind once again. I nodded slightly, as I thought, I'm not the only one in this world who awakened a talent. Seeing me nod, Chu Ting face-bombed in frustration. Are you trying to get yourself killed? You're just a rookie newbie. Why would you accept a mission like this? Tell me, what's the penalty? How many spirit points will be deducted? Though I didn't know why she was so angry, it was almost 4 a.m. I didn't have time to explain. With that thought, I cleared my throat. Let's just go first. The night demon is likely about to complete the ritual. Hearing this, Chu Ting pulled me forward. Then what are we waiting for? Let's move. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. Wait a minute. From the group that had been hiding behind the crystal wall with Chu Ting. They've all caught up. Sister Ting, you're not planning to go to some room 1104, are you? You said you'd lead us out of here. Didn't you claim to be an official? Protecting us students is your actual job, isn't it? The crowd began to shout.
Chu Ting, Frau Ned.
Didn't I already tell you? The way out is on the rooftop. Go up first. I'll be there in a moment. As she spoke, she took a small vial from her waist and poured out 2 red pills, then swallowed them in one go. Seeing this, I immediately understood. It seems Chu Ting's condition is quite serious. But those students were still relentless. You say the way out is on the rooftop, but what happens once we get there? Are we supposed to jump off? Seeing them grow more agitated, I raised my hand to stop them. You guessed right. Jumping from the rooftop is the only hope of leaving. As soon as I said this, they all started cursing me. What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean, jump off the building? You're absolutely disgusting. Sister Ting clearly said she'd save us, just to get Sister Ting to help you. You don't care about anyone else's safety? Just then, several voices interrupted their shouting. We trust Lin Che. Looking around, Jiang Tong, Zhang Yan, and the others, who had been scattered by the black-maned werewolves, had all gathered back together. Chu Ting stepped forward and patted the leader from the 10th floor. I trust Lin Che's words too. Jumping from the rooftop is the way to survive. Just do as he says. My purpose here was to investigate the entity's true form. I've already fulfilled my duty toward you. I'm not your nanny. Now that the way out has been revealed, the choice is yours. Hearing this, their expressions turned desolate. After taking the pills, Chu Ting's condition seemed to improve. She glanced at me, then headed straight upstairs. As we went up, I looked back at the 9 people who had followed me this far. My gaze finally landed on Zhang Yan. Zhang Yan, go with them right now. Don't waste time being sentimental. You must remember, as long as you live, I might not necessarily die. Remember today's date. Remember everything that happened today. Then I leaned into his ear. Especially remember this. 3 years from today, between 2:35 a.m. and 2:45 a.m., you might be ambushed. Seeing Zhang Yan's struggling expression, I patted his shoulder. Remember what you promised before we left the dorm? Trust me unconditionally. Do exactly as I say. At those words, Zhang Yan nodded heavily. He turned and was the first to head upstairs. Su Jiao and the others each held their homemade daylight lamps and followed. Jiang Tong walked last, pressing a piece of black jade into my hand. I didn't have a chance to give this back to Sister Ting. Please pass it to her for me. We'll see each other once we're out. You must survive. I nodded, saying nothing more. The remaining people from the 10th floor didn't want to go to the roof, thinking it was safer to follow Chu Ting. But after entering the 11th floor, just one look at the scene inside, and they all scrambled back toward the rooftop. A faint black mist drifted through the 11th floor corridor. Holding a homemade daylight lamp, I quickly caught up with Chu Ting. Chu Ting looked grave. She held a miniature flashlight. Wherever the light hit, there were eerie patterns drawn in blood. Looking closer, the patterns were actually slowly writhing. One look at them, and an inexplicable fear rose within me, as if I were nearing a supernatural entity. But as I looked around, nothing was approaching. The doors on both sides were all open, revealing a deep, abyssal darkness inside. Nothing could be seen. Just by staring for a few moments, I felt an urge to step inside. Then Chu Ting's voice snapped me back to reality. Don't go in. Steady your mind. Better max out your spirit attribute. This floor has become the core of the dark convergence. Every room could harbor supernatural creatures of different levels, all waiting for the night demon to ascend. That would give them a better chance to enter the real world. Even with my strength and gear, I almost died in there. I nodded slightly, though I still had many questions. Now was not the time for answers. I followed Chu Ting to the door of room 1104. She stopped and looked back at me. Are you sure it's here? If we have the wrong place and encounter something more terrifying than the night demon, neither of us might make it out. I nodded decisively. I checked the time. A little over 3 minutes left. There was no more time to hesitate. I had to trust the tip from the future Zhang Yan. Hearing this, Chu Ting turned and entered room 1104. I'll have to trust you. Stay close to me. I followed her, stepping into the room. The moment I entered, a chaotic jumble of sounds flooded my ears, like the chanting of scriptures or the wailing of a funeral. I couldn't understand the meaning, but my head began to throb. Everything before me was shrouded in darkness. Chu Ting's flashlight only illuminated a tiny area. Faintly, I could see many figures kneeling ahead. Further ahead, there seemed to be a massive, glowing object, standing out starkly in the black mist. Chu Ting's pace slowed. This is the core of the dark convergence, and the focal point of the night demon's ascension ritual. Those kneeling figures ahead are all clones of the night demon. We finally found the right place. As we moved forward, I felt my movements becoming slower and slower, until Chu Ting produced an oil lamp from somewhere, and the pressure eased slightly. This is a forbidden domain cast by the night demon. The power of the dark is eroding us. That's why our movements are restricted. Prolonged exposure to this erosion will cause humans to gradually mutate, turning into complete monsters. Once the night demon successfully ascends, can deploy a massive domain. Then, the whole world will become a toy for the supernatural. Before she could finish, Chu Ting swayed. I quickly stepped forward to support her. What's wrong? The moment I saw her face, my pupils contracted sharply. Blood was streaming from all 7 of Chu Ting's orifices. Her face was twisted in agony. Then, she gritted her teeth and looked at me. Carry me. My injuries are still too severe. It's becoming hard to suppress. Hearing this, I hoisted Chu Ting onto my back and charged forward, rushing toward where the figures were gathering. In about 7 or 8 breaths, I finally saw what was happening ahead. There was a massive lake of blood on the open ground, and beside the lake, a group of people were kneeling in unison before an altar. The altar was about 1 meter high, roughly 5 meters in diameter. I looked closer. It was actually built from flesh and blood. Human faces were twisting and writhing within it. Moans of agony escaped their lips. My hair stood on end. I didn't know all these faces, but I recognized most of them. Especially a few of them were clearly Su Pengju and the others. The people who had been eaten by the monsters were all appearing here on this altar of flesh. And atop that altar stood a massive holographic phantom. The phantom was clearly a crimson red, yet the light it emitted was thick and pure white, illuminating every single corner of the area. Bathed in this holy radiance, I even felt an urge to kneel. At first, I couldn't understand their mutterings, but as I drew closer, I was surprised to find that I could actually grasp the meaning of their words. They were chanting a hymn. O great Lord, you are the King of the endless soul abyss, the sovereign where all spirits become one, the finality to which all existence must converge. The kneeling crowd and the twisted faces on the altar chanted together. The sheer fanaticism surged into my mind. The further I walked, the harder it became to control my thoughts. As the chanting intensified once more, my eyes became bloodshot. I felt an immense pressure weighing on my mind. At the same time, more and more people merged into flesh and blood, joining the altar. A cacophony of madness converged, driving me to the brink of collapse. Then Chu Ting's voice echoed in my head. Lin Che, wake up. There's only 1 minute left. Destroy the altar now. I snapped awake instantly, realizing what had just happened. A chill ran down my spine. Chu Ting struggled to get off my back. She pulled a palm-sized grenade from her tactical belt. Use this to destroy the altar. Pull the pin and throw it. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed it, pulled the pin, and hurled it with all my might. First came a loud boom, followed by an even more violent explosion. A massive shockwave and searing currents of fire swept the area. Though I had already pulled Chu Ting down with me, I could still feel the scorching heat on my back. When I looked up again, I found the altar of flesh was gone. Charred fragments were scattered everywhere, and the holographic phantom that had stood upon the altar was slowly fading. Seeing this, Chu Ting breathed a sigh of relief. We finally did it. Let's get out of here fast. The Ascension ritual failed. The night demon is about to wake up, but before she could finish, her expression suddenly changed. She quickly checked the system page to see if there was a mission completion notification. Hearing her, I quickly opened my system panel. My heart leaped into my throat. Nothing. The mission is still ongoing. Panicked, Chu Ting jumped back onto my back. Oh no, the power of the ritual is still there. Carry me over there. Quickly, the spirituality needed for the Ascension was already sufficient. The rest is just a formality. Once all the clones are sacrificed, it will obtain true authority. One of those two in front must be the Night Demon's main body. The other is just a clone. We must kill the clone first. We can't let the ritual continue. While Chu Ting was speaking, I was already sprinting forward. Are there any more thermobaric grenades? Why not just blow them all to hell? Hearing this, Chu Ting quickly stopped me. No, a specter of the Night Demon's level. Is extremely sensitive to danger. If it senses danger, it will wake up instantly, and those grenades would, at most, only wound it. While it might stop the ritual, the Night Demon would kill us instantly. A distance of 10-odd meters was covered in just a few strides. At that moment, the last two people raised their hands and prostrated themselves. Under the faint, holy glow, they screamed the prayer with all their might. Chu Ting immediately drew her blade and handed it to me. Don't wait any longer. The Night Demon has already sensed us. We must make a choice now. We can't wait until the last second to act. Otherwise, once the last clone dissolves under the ritual's power, it'll be too late for everything. Your talent should be related to precognition, right? Find the clone, and kill it. I hurriedly took the knife. Cold sweat poured down my forehead. My talent is experiencing what will happen after I wake up from a dream. If I were still in the dream, I could have just charged in blindly, picked one at random, but now I'm awake. If I strike the Night Demon's main body, it will wake up immediately. At that point, both Chu Ting and I would die here. Another impossible choice. Suddenly, a jolt went through my body. Wait, I know what to do. I raised my palm and slammed it onto the shoulder of the nearest person. Mind reading. Start. Instantly, a strange voice echoed in my ear. Almost there. True authority. The embrace of a god. A sharp pain throbbed in my brain. I struggled to pull my hand back. My eyes felt sore and swollen, as if I hadn't slept for 3 days and nights. I was mentally exhausted, but that was enough. Just now, I had distinguished who was the main body and who was the clone. At that same moment, the two kneeling figures completed their third prostration. They raised their hands to sacrifice themselves. I swung the blade down in a vertical strike, taking both of them out. I hoisted Chu Ting back onto my shoulders and sprinted for the exit. You have successfully stopped the Night Demon's ascension. Life or death choice completed. Task grade A. Reward package generated. Rewards for escaping the Darklands are being distributed. System notifications popping up in succession. The space around us began to shake violently. It felt as if it could collapse at any moment. I used every ounce of my strength and burst out of the dormitory in less than 10 seconds. Chu Ting swapped the oil lamp for a flashlight. To the rooftop. The Ascension ritual failed, but the remaining dark energy will linger for a while. This time, the Night Demon will awaken, and begin the hunt itself. We need to get out of here, fast. Once we're outside, we'll be safe. I didn't say a word, heading straight for the nearby stairwell. 20 seconds left. Plenty of time to reach the rooftop. Just then, the fire door ahead suddenly swung open. I was startled at first, but my eyes welled up the moment I saw who it was. Why did you come back? Zhang Yan stepped forward and grabbed my shoulder. Give me a break. I've been waiting for you on the roof forever. Of course I had to come check. You risked your life to save me. How could I actually leave you behind and run? Are you done yet? Carrying Chu Ting on my back, I reached the fire door. Run now. Then we reached the roof. Looking down from the rooftop, I realized the entire dormitory was engulfed in a thick, pitch-black fog. Meanwhile, the 20 or so people on the roof were all standing by the wall, hesitating. What do we do? Do we really have to jump? What if we fall to our deaths? Jiang Tong and his group just jumped. Why wasn't there any sound? 10 seconds until 4 o'clock. If another monster comes up, we're finished. As everyone was arguing frantically, their eyes lit up when they saw Chu Ting and me. Lin Che, Sister Ting, you're finally here. We've all been waiting for you. We were afraid something happened to you. I ignored them, giving the crowd a quick glance. They were survivors from the 8th and 10th floors. Su Jiao, Jiang Tong, and the others were gone. It seemed they had already jumped as instructed. Seeing this, Zhang Yan sneered. These idiots, still wasting time. I kicked him in response. You're no better. Get down there now. Then, I leaped onto the perimeter wall. Below was a void of darkness. Suddenly, the lights went out. Night had fallen. The system's time notification vanished. I knew it was exactly 4 o'clock. Not only that, I felt as if I were submerged in deep water again. My movements were restricted, and even breathing became a struggle. A wave of terror crashed over me. Then, Chu Ting's weak voice sounded. Quick, the night demon is here. I didn't dare delay any longer. I leaped immediately, jumping from the roof with Chu Ting on my back. There was no sensation of free falling. After a moment of dizziness, my feet hit the ground. Zhang Yan appeared beside me out of thin air. He spun around a few times, nearly losing his balance. Then came several screams, as a dozen people crashed clumsily to the ground. I surveyed the surroundings. We were now outside the main exit of the dormitory, but the path ahead was still shrouded in black fog. Under the light of the oil lamp, visibility was only about 5 meters. Beyond that, everything was swallowed by darkness. As for the flashlights and phone lights, they only worked within the lamp's radius. Once outside that range, it was like falling into an abyss. I shouted run and sprinted forward. The 10 or so people who jumped with us followed, screaming. A few were still gagging, unable to recover. I didn't wait for them. As the light of the oil lamp receded, terrified pleas for help echoed from behind, which quickly turned into blood-curdling screams. My expression shifted instantly, a sense of dread clouding my mind. It seemed the night demon had caught up, and we had been running for nearly half a minute. At this pace, forget escaping the dorm area. We should have at least seen the neighboring buildings. But right now, other than the asphalt beneath my feet, there was nothing, even the greenery that should have been. Along the roadside was nowhere to be seen. Looking back, even the dormitory had vanished. Everything was shrouded in black fog. With no sense of direction, I could only rely on instinct to keep sprinting. Zhang Yan could still keep up, but the others who jumped were gradually running out of strength. 2 people accidentally tripped, and shortly after, piercing screams rang out. Then, a pretty boy from the 10th floor gasped for air. Why can't we get out? How much longer do we have to run? Didn't they say jumping down would let us escape? Sister Ting, please, find a way to save us. Aren't you an official? The others were equally terrified and helpless. Then Chu Ting's voice spoke slowly. The rules are correct. The reason we can't get out is because the night demon has distorted our perception of space. In reality, we haven't traveled far. A distance that usually takes seconds might now take 10 minutes or more. Hearing this, the others fell silent, dragging their exhausted bodies forward. My expression grew grim. This can't go on. We'll be worn down and killed sooner or later. Sensing my thoughts, Chu Ting's voice echoed in my mind. Keep running. I can hold on a bit longer. The night demon failed its evolution, so it can't maintain the forbidden domain for long. Don't let it catch us. Chu Ting's tone was calm, and the oil lamp in her hand continued to glow. But suddenly, I felt my shoulder and back getting wet. I looked back in confusion, only to find in horror that Chu Ting was bleeding from every orifice. The amount of blood was so great it soaked through my back. I stopped abruptly. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with the lamp? Give it to me if you can't hold it. Chu Ting shook her head. Don't worry about me. Just keep running. As she spoke, the lamp's light dimmed suddenly. The radius shrank to about 3 meters. I felt the resistance to my running increase. An inexplicable dread slowly coiled around my heart. My breathing became labored. If even I felt this, the others stood no chance. Zhang Yan was doing okay. He wasn't seriously injured, nor was he drenched in blood like I was. But the others hit their limit immediately. The pretty boy clutched his throat and stopped dead. I can't breathe. It hurts so much. Deprived of the lamp's light, the pretty pretty boy's figure was swallowed by the darkness. Then, his voice was abruptly cut off. The lamp grew dimmer and dimmer, the resistance grew stronger, and I found it harder and harder to move. A bizarre laugh suddenly echoed from behind. You can't escape. At first, the voice sounded far away, but in the blink of an eye, it closed in. Zhang Yan's hair stood on end in terror. Holy shit, I turned around to look. Brother Yan, I can't hold on much longer. Your best bro is about to be eaten. Don't you have any thoughts on that? Zhang Yan bolted. What else could I possibly think? I just want to run faster. Damn it, I really want to punch him. What's the point of being scared now? I told you to leave earlier, but you didn't. The eerie laughter behind us grew closer. My scalp tingled with dread. I turned to look at Zhang Yan, planning to provoke him a bit, to see if I could trigger his system. You think it's over once this thing eats us? It'll gain our memories. It might even take our forms, and go eat our families. My parents are long gone, but your whole family moved to Haicheng, right? If that thing behind us eats you, it won't take long. They'll all be dead. Do you remember how Su Ming died? And the others? Who among them left a whole corpse? Your dad, your mom, your sister, and your little nephew. None of them can escape, especially your little nephew. Such a small child. Must be so tender and soft. Definitely tender and soft. Zhang Yan clutched his head and screamed, "Shut up. Stop talking." Zhang Yan turned and glared at the towering shadow in the dark. He took a step forward, and suddenly unleashed a powerful punch, sending the massive figure that just emerged flying backward. After that punch, Zhang Yan froze for a moment. Then, a look of disbelief crossed his face. Finally, all his emotions turned into pure ecstasy. Ha ha ha. Little Che, I'm the protagonist. I really am born extraordinary. From now on, Big Bro's got you covered. We'll live the high life. I don't even have to think about it. For him to be this arrogant, he must have awakened a talent and bound a system. Then, that eerie hee-hee laughter returned. A pitch-black creature, a werewolf shrouded in faint black mist, lunged from the dark, slamming Zhang Yan to the ground. But Zhang Yan acted as if nothing happened. Before the night demon could bite down, he gripped its wrist with a death hold. The razor-sharp claws were right before his eyes, but they couldn't move an inch closer. As the night demon's body was about to hit the ground, Zhang Yan suddenly flipped over, grabbing the night demon's arms with both hands, like he was swinging a rope. He slammed it violently into the ground. A massive crash echoed. Dust flew everywhere. Under the dim light of the oil lamp, the asphalt road was cratered into a huge human-shaped pit. Such an exaggerated scene. Not only me, even Chu Ting gasped in disbelief. What kind of talent did he awaken? Zhang Yan gave a faint sneer. Is that all? Then, just as the night demon tried to rise again, he suddenly stomped it back down. Then he leaned over and smashed a fist into the night demon's head. The night demon's head was driven deeper and deeper into the ground. Its entire body was embedded diagonally into the earth. Even the black mist began to dissipate. Suddenly, my whole body felt light. That feeling of being trapped underwater had vanished. I was overjoyed. Looks like we're in the clear. At that moment, Chu Ting handed me the knife from her waist. This knife is made of a special material. With the strength Zhang Yan is showing now, he might be able to kill the night demon. Give it to him to try, before anything else goes wrong. I didn't dare delay. I quickly stepped forward to hand the knife to Zhang Yan. Take the knife! But to my surprise, Zhang Yan's face was pale. He had no intention of stopping to take the knife. He just kept punching over and over. I can't stop. Otherwise, my heart sank, because Zhang Yan's expression now had none of the confidence or arrogance from before. Instead, there was a hint of urgency and anxiety. I didn't know what was wrong. I immediately shouted again, "Take the knife! This knife can kill it!" Zhang Yan's body suddenly shuddered. Then he slowly turned to look at me. The faint glow surrounding him vanished instantly. He collapsed straight down into the pit beneath him. I was horrified. I rushed forward to check on him. I saw blood seeping from every pore of Zhang Yan's body. In an instant, he became a man of blood. I was completely stunned. I had to put Chu Ting down first, and hurry to pull Zhang Yan out of the pit. With no time to check Zhang Yan's condition, I quickly raised the knife and slashed at the werewolf. But to my surprise, my full-strength strike barely left a mark. I slashed 4 more times, but it only deepened the night demon's wounds slightly. Instead, it caused my own wound to rip open. Blood flowed profusely. The hemostatic bandage around my chest was now completely useless. My health points continued to drop. 60 points remaining. The night demon's limbs twitched more violently, but looking at its arms, it was clearly trying to crawl back up. Chu Ting struggled to pull a handgun from her waist and threw it to me. You're too weak. You can't infuse the blade with spiritual energy yet, and your strength isn't like Zhang Yan's was. Use this gun. It might not be incredibly effective, but while it's in this weakened state, inflict as much damage as possible. I took the handgun, felt heavy in my hand. I pulled back the slide, aimed at the night demon's head, and pulled the trigger repeatedly. 3 consecutive bullets slammed into the night demon's head. A cloud of gunpowder smoke filled the air. Blood holes exploded across the night demon's head, but the kill notification still didn't trigger. The thick fog around us didn't dissipate either. A coarse roar sounded again, filled with intense rage. My scalp tingled with fear. I dropped the gun immediately. Then I hoisted Chu Ting back onto my shoulders, tucking Zhang Yan's body under my left arm, and began sprinting forward. Just then, I saw some blurry figures ahead. My heart tightened. I slowed my pace. A trembling voice came from the darkness ahead. Oh no, a monster is coming. There's still hope to escape. I breathed a sigh of relief. Su Yu, Jiang Tong. The people ahead suddenly stopped in their tracks. They all came running back toward my voice. Once they entered the light of the oil lamp, their pale faces finally relaxed a bit. Lin Che, it really is you. We thought the monster had found us. Everyone gathered around me, faces filled with relief. I grabbed Sujio and demanded, "Didn't you guys leave long ago? Why are you still here?" Sujio looked panicked. After we jumped off the rooftop, we could actually see the outside, but the black mist surrounding the dorm suddenly expanded and trapped us inside again. I suspect we've just been running in circles. Chu Ting, clinging to my back, patted me. Impossible. The night demon was still in the middle of its ascension ritual. It couldn't have bothered with you, unless a more terrifying entity emerged before the night demon finished its ascension. Chu Ting's voice was urgent. Run. No matter what, we have to speed up. This new entity must be far more terrifying than the night demon. It's enhancing the night demon's domain, specifically to trap us, searching for a suitable host to parasitize. Trembling with fear, the group hurried forward as fast as they could. Suddenly, a deep, magnetic voice drifted eerily into their ears. Don't leave. Give your bodies to me. I want your bodies. This voice was entirely different from the night demon's raspy tone. I couldn't help but look back. A towering figure emerged from the darkness. Glistening black fur, razor-sharp claws, and a skull riddled with bullet holes. This was clearly the night demon. But that voice. Chu Ting looked back, her blood-stained eyes meeting mine. The night demon is being controlled. As I feared, a more terrifying ghost has appeared, to be able to control the night demon. This must be an S-rank entity. The world is truly doomed. Suddenly, someone was grabbed in their panic. Then the figure shook its head. You, won't do. In an instant, the person was lifted and torn in half. As a rain of blood showered down, the towering figure dove straight into the victims, chest and abdomen tearing into the flesh. Everyone's legs turned to jelly from terror. What the hell do we do? Are we all just going to die here? Just then, the range of light suddenly expanded, and the thick fog around them began to thin. Everyone felt a sudden lightness, and the oppressive feeling of restraint mostly vanished. A faint smile touched Chu Ting's lips. Hold on. The dark power is dissipating. We're almost out of here. The group was suddenly revitalized. But right then, that eerie voice drifted back to them. Don't leave. What an honor it is for you to have the chance to become my vessel. All of you stay. The voice, like a warm spring breeze, caused my already hazy consciousness to falter. I wanted to stay, to let my exhausted body drift into a warm embrace. Chu Ting pinched me hard. Wake up! We can't let it catch us, especially people like you and Zhang Yan who have awakened talents. You are the chosen ones of this world. You absolutely cannot become hosts for an entity of this level. Otherwise, it will be an absolute catastrophe. Following Chu Ting's words, the others snapped back to their senses. They accelerated their pace once more, narrowly escaping the grasp of the towering figure behind them. Suddenly, I felt the restraint intensify several times over. I looked back, and everyone seemed to be moving in slow motion. Soon, another person was dragged into the darkness. While everyone was trembling in terror, Sujio suddenly stopped in his tracks. His eyes were filled with tears. No one can save us now. Rather than being eaten one by one, we might as well fight that monster together. We're not destined to survive, but at least one of us must. Lin Che, please, live on for all of us. When you are strong enough, you must kill that monster and avenge us.
Suru rau lao li.
And the others seemed to be swept up in his emotion. In that moment, they actually overcame their fear. At worst, we just die. So what's there to fear? I'll be a hero again in 18 years. I was shaken to the core, not because I was moved by their courage, but because this felt far too unnatural. Some people can sacrifice themselves for country or cause, or for their closest friends and family. But these were just ordinary students. Just moments ago, they were struggling to survive, fighting for every breath on the edge of death. Yet in a blink, because of a few words from Sujio, they became ready to embrace death. This was simply terrifying. Then Sujio walked up beside me. I told you, when facing an insurmountable danger, I'd find a way to make others cover your retreat. Actually, I just wanted to trick them into dying, so that my own chances of escape would increase slightly. But for some reason, when those words left my mouth, I also wanted to stay and die with them. Lin Che, you and Zhang Yan must leave. Live on, carrying our shares of life with you. After saying this, Sujio stopped. Like the others, he charged toward the towering figure in the night. Sounds of tearing flesh and screams rose and fell. Along with it, the seductive voice vanished. Then I felt my body regain its freedom. The feeling of restraint eased significantly. Then, Chu Ting's soft whisper sounded in my ear. Lin Che, you and Zhang Yan must leave. Don't feel guilty. Don't carry this burden. I turned to look, and saw that within Chu Ting's eyes, a faint silver light was still glowing. This was originally just a flicker of a thought in their minds, but it had been amplified, replacing their desire to survive, and becoming the dominant force of their consciousness. It was the same for Sujio. I could feel in his emotional fluctuations that he wanted to trick the others into covering the retreat, so he could seize a better chance of survival. So I made him stay as well. Run! Faster! While they are buying you this precious time. I suddenly understood why all this happened. Chu Ting had controlled them to go to their deaths. Chu Ting tightened her grip on the oil lamp. I've been tracking the night demon for half a year, and only recently found some clues. The night demon's ascension requires two conditions. First, a massive amount of essence and flesh. Second, to split into enough clones during this ritual, and use these two for the sacrifice. You must remember these characteristics of the night demon, and the conditions for its ascension. Survive as long as you can, and then one day in the future, kill it. I shook my groggy head, and finally voiced my question. Based on what you said, the ghostly weirds seem to have existed for a long time, but society is still stable, at least on the surface. There haven't been any major upheavals. This means the authorities must have a way to control them. Then why has the night demon been slaughtering everyone here for several hours now? Why hasn't anyone come to deal with it? And before you came here, didn't you prepare any backup plan? Chu Ting remained silent for 2 seconds before answering. Because the ghostly weird incidents are becoming more frequent. It's getting harder for us to cover every single place. I only came here because of a recent discovery, which led me to follow these clues. But in the end, there was no concrete evidence. However, to avoid unexpected situations, I set up a scheduled text message for a teammate. If I didn't send word by 3:30, it means something went wrong, and armed forces should be deployed here immediately. I blurted out, but it's already way past 4. Is it true that all ghostly weirds need a human body as a host to parasitize? And according to the revelation, humans are the best hosts for them. Then is it possible that your teammate has already been parasitized? Just as Chu Ting was about to say something, a shadow suddenly approached from the darkness again. Humble little ants, where do you think you're going? Stay here. I have sensed a host compatible with me, and it is among you. My already groggy head grew even heavier. The oil lamp in my hand began to flicker and sway. An overwhelming pressure swept over me like a tide. At that moment, Chu Ting jumped off my back. Finally, it's my turn. I I really don't want to die. The reason I investigated this place alone was actually for another reason. Our squad hunted the night demon many times, but it escaped every single time. I once suspected there was a mole inside, but since humans and ghostly weirds are natural enemies, I didn't look into it further. It was just a vague suspicion, but thinking about it now, it really is quite abnormal. That teammate of mine is named Han Chung. You can suspect him, but until you have enough strength, don't try to uncover the truth. Compared to the truth, surviving is what matters most. By now, Chu Ting's exposed skin was covered in cracks. Blood began to seep out, but she still stepped forward with her blade, slowly vanishing into the darkness. Only a faint voice drifted back. I saved you, simply because you are more valuable than I am. I hope that one day you kill the night demon. Kill every eerie creature you encounter. You must survive. I didn't look back. The moment Chu Ting stepped off my back, I hoisted Zhang Yan, whom I'd been dragging, onto my back, and walked forward with the lamp, never looking back. Zhang Yan's weak voice suddenly sounded. You're different from before. Put me down. Taking me along is just a burden. I can feel that I'm dying. Yet, I didn't hesitate for a second, and kept moving forward. As my spirituality points hit 0, my whole body suddenly shuddered. I felt my spirit and energy rapidly draining away, being sucked out relentlessly. Zhang Yan on my back felt like a mountain. My legs felt as if they were filled with lead. Then Zhang Yan let out a soft sigh. I already owe you too much. Why, even as I'm dying, do you still make me owe you? Tiny little cloud. As he spoke, a faint light radiated from Zhang Yan's body, like a tiny spark in an oil lamp, flickering and unstable, ready to be extinguished at any moment. This was a side of Zhang Yan I had never seen. How great would it be if there were no monsters in this world? How great it would be to be carefree like when we were kids. Lin Che, take me home. Relying on sheer willpower, I took another dozen steps forward. Okay, going home. Suddenly, the system's voice rang out. You have left the convergence of gloom. Task rewards are ready for distribution. I snapped my head up. The view ahead suddenly opened up. Through my blurred vision, the familiar asphalt road stretched forward. The greenery on both sides, the adjacent dormitory buildings, and the school buildings further away, all came into view. My voice trembled slightly. Zhang Yan, we're out. I'm taking you home. But there was no response from behind me. My consciousness had long been groggy. My brain was functioning extremely slowly. I didn't even have the energy to look back, to see what was happening behind me, so I stood there blankly for a while. Finally, driven by instinct, I wanted to get as far away from this place as possible. So I stepped out through the school's side gate and arrived in front of a house. I stepped forward and rang the doorbell. Soon, footsteps sounded from inside. Who is it? Knocking this early? Uncle, it's me. Lin Che. The door was suddenly yanked open. A middle-aged man stepped out, looking about 60 to 70% like Zhang Yan. His face was now filled with shock. Lin Che, what on earth? Before he could finish, he saw Zhang Yan slumped on my back. He stepped forward anxiously. He hurriedly helped Zhang Yan down from my back, while shouting toward the house without looking back. Honey, come out quickly. Something happened to Xiao Yan. As he spoke, the middle-aged man began checking Zhang Yan's entire body. When he found that although Zhang Yan's breathing was weak, his heart was still beating, and there were no serious wounds on his body, his tense expression finally relaxed a bit. I turned and stumbled away, still muttering to myself, home now. I need to go home too. I kept repeating those words. After going downstairs, I froze for 2 seconds. I felt like I forgot something very important. The system rewards. I actually forgot something so important. I didn't have time to wonder why. In this brief moment of clarity, I hurriedly opened the system and found that the task rewards had indeed been listed. Basic reward. You may choose one of the following 3 God-tier sequences. Sequence 1. The Berserker. Skill. Level 1 Berserk. Activate this state. Strength and agility increased by 50. Pain perception reduced by 50. Sequence 2. Illusionist. Skill. Level 1 Heart Bewitching. You can now perceive the target's surface emotional fluctuations. Sequence 3. Thief. Skill. Level 1 stealing. Within a certain range, without physical contact, you can take a physical object from the target. Rating reward. Mission rating A. You may choose one of the following 4 rewards. Option 1. Special grade life recovery potion. Heals injuries within 10 seconds. Vital signs restored to peak condition. Option 2. Spirit value increased to maximum. Option 3. Right to use a supernatural skill. Limited to 1 use clone. Limited to 1 use. Limited to 1 use. Option 4. Exclusive space. Can store system certified items. The above basic and rating rewards. Please complete your selection within 1 hour. Exceeding the time limit will be considered a forfeit. Countdown begins. The system rewards were ready long ago. I was given an hour to choose, but now only 2.5 minutes remain. I endured the agony in my head, tapping my skull. Seeing that time was running out, I made my decision immediately. System. I choose the special grade life recovery potion, and the supernatural skill usage right. As I spoke, a test tube appeared out of thin air, filled with a green liquid. I pulled out the stopper, and downed it in 1 gulp. A cool sensation surged down my throat. Instantly, a tingling sensation washed over my entire body. Every cell felt as if it were cheering. My whole being began to revitalize in that moment. In an instant, my injuries were completely healed, but the cloudiness in my mind remained. The ringing in my ears persisted. I checked my status panel. HP 100. Current status. Abnormal. At this moment, I couldn't help but recall what Chu Ting told me. If one is eroded by the darkness for too long, humans will gradually become aberrant. My current abnormal status. Is that why this is happening? I had hoped that by drinking the recovery potion and restoring my vitals to their peak, I would be able to think clearly again. But clearly that's not working. Only 1 minute and 20 seconds left. I closed my eyes in deep thought. 3 divine sequences. The Berserk skill is incredibly powerful, though simple and crude, but if leveled to the max, my combat power would soar to an absurd level. Truly, brute force to break all laws. I was about to choose the path of fury, but in a flash, another thought occurred to me, but that's ultimately too primitive. The mental state after berserking might be unstable, like those possessed by the night demon clones. Every one of them looked hideous, as if they had gone insane, meaning this ability might not be as strong as I imagined. On the other hand, the one controlling the night demons is likely an S-rank aberrant creature, who follows the phantom god of the end. Then the illusionist path should be far more powerful. If I max out heart bewitching, I might be able to manipulate others like puppets. I feel the illusionist is a great choice. If the thief path is taken to the end, it might become absolutely broken. As I progress further into the divine sequence, perhaps I could steal non-physical things, like thoughts, attribute points, luck, or skills, or even, as the prompt suggested, be able to steal the rules of the world. Since I've given up on the crude path of berserking, I might as well go for the stealthy thief build. After all, my talent is precognitive dreaming, giving me many chances to trial and error. I was about to choose the thief path, but just then, another thought popped into my head. The future of the thief path is ultimately just my speculation. Even if it is as I imagine, there might still be numerous restrictions. Overall, the illusionist path seems more reliable. My head still throbbed with pain, but at this moment, it was as if a sudden inspiration struck. My thoughts raced with surprising speed, as if I had completely recovered. I thought of the various benefits of heart bewitching. Not only that, I suddenly noticed that below the illusionist path, a note had appeared out of nowhere. Woven illusions, cradle of fantasies, truth and falsehood are but a single thought. This is simply God tier. My heart raced, with only 3 seconds left on the timer, and the pain in my head became unbearable once more. I didn't hesitate any longer, and immediately chose the illusionist path. You have successfully acquired sequence illusionist. As if attaining enlightenment, various ideas flashed through my mind. These were all ways to utilize the heart-bewitching ability. I don't know if it was an illusion, or if my mind relaxed after the tension. After completing the system reward selection, an intense exhaustion swept over my body. I raised my hand and punched my head a few times. My consciousness grew cloudy once again. Only the powerful urge to go home kept me from collapsing and falling asleep right there. I stumbled out of the residential complex, walking toward the direction of home from my memory. I carried the extinguished oil lamp out the gate. Although I was covered in blood and filth, the young security guard on duty only glanced at me and didn't ask any questions. This heart-bewitching ability is truly useful, but the 15-minute cooldown is still too long. I knew I must look incredibly conspicuous right now. I had to get back and clean up quickly. Otherwise, it would definitely attract unnecessary trouble. Enduring the drowsiness and fatigue, I finally arrived before a small courtyard. My heart was both excited and somewhat hesitant. I quietly climbed over the wall into the yard. An old dog lying on the ground saw me and ran over, wagging its tail, letting out a soft whimper, licking my pant leg affectionately. A heartfelt smile appeared on my lips. I gently patted the dog's head. Once the mutt wagged its tail back to its crude doghouse to lie down. Only then did I quietly approach the front door, gently turning the doorknob. As expected, it was locked. I let out a soft sigh. I left the keys at the dorm. I had no choice but to follow the original plan and wait for the 15-minute cooldown of heart bewitching to end. Then I climbed up to the second floor, grabbing the security bars. I tapped gently on the window. It didn't take long. A corner of the curtain was pulled aside, revealing a young woman in pajamas. Just as she was about to scream, I immediately activated my heart confusion skill, making her ignore the blood covering my body. Lin Che, don't scream. It's me. Let me in. The young woman froze for a moment. Then she nodded repeatedly, turning to run out of the room, leaving only her back to me. I breathed a sigh of relief and jumped down from the second floor. I didn't want to wake my parents. After all, my skill only works on a single target, so I had to wake up my sister instead. The young woman opened the front door. Shouldn't you be at school? Why are you back so early in the morning? And why were you knocking on my window? I waved her off, not wanting to dwell on it. We'll talk about it later. I'm a bit tired. I'm gonna take a shower first. Just then, the chandelier on the first floor was suddenly switched on. A middle-aged couple walked out of the bedroom, rushing to my side in panic, wanting to see where I was hurt. So, what on earth happened to you? Let Mom see. Where are you injured? The middle-aged woman's tears flowed freely, while the middle-aged man ran to get the first aid kit and simultaneously pulled out his phone to call emergency services. Thinking quickly on my feet, I hurriedly came up with an excuse. Mom, Dad, don't worry. This isn't blood. I went to a cosplay event last night. It was too late to go back to the dorm, so I came home, but I didn't want to wake you guys, so I stayed outside all night. By morning, I just couldn't take it anymore, so I had Sis let me in. Just then, a teenage boy ran down from upstairs. Bro, did someone bully you? Tell me, I'll help you beat them up. I immediately stood up, took off my coat, and ripped off the bandages still wrapped around me, showing them that I had no wounds. Seeing this, my parents finally breathed a long sigh of relief. Seeing that my family didn't suspect a thing, I felt my heart ease as well. As expected, those who trust you most are always your family. Watching my family bustle about for me, a wave of intense emotion surged in my heart. A lavish feast had already been prepared on the dining table. There was gobera, braised pork ribs, steamed crabs, and plenty of candied haws. All of these were my favorites. The whole family gathered around the table, looking at me with smiles on their faces. My father was holding a transformer, grinning and waving it at me, making funny faces. My little brother sat obediently to the side, his eyes innocent and pure. My sister held a fairy tale book in her hands, already beginning to recite it eloquently. A tender smile appeared on my mother's face. My body trembled. I sat down and picked up my chopsticks and began to feast. This meal tasted so sweet and delicious. In this warm atmosphere, I felt the pain in my head subside, as if I were being healed by my family's love. I made a firm decision in my heart. This is my sanctuary, and the home I long for most when I'm exhausted. I will protect this place forever. After eating, I felt even more exhausted. I said goodbye to my parents and siblings, and went back to my room to sleep. Before sleeping, I plugged in my phone to charge, preparing to reconnect with future Zhang Yan in my dreams. When I told the real-world Zhang Yan to flee first, I had solemnly warned him, that he would be ambushed at dawn on this day 3 years later. This time, Zhang Yan only suffered excessive blood loss. He had also killed many night demon clones. His physical condition was far beyond that of an ordinary person, so he shouldn't die that easily, as long as Zhang Yan kept my words in mind. Once I entered the dream state again, it would be highly likely that I could contact future Zhang Yan again. There were still many questions in my mind. My biggest doubt was the phrase, "Never trust anyone," whether it held some deeper meaning. If I truly couldn't trust anyone, then when I first woke up, if I hadn't trusted the text from future Zhang Yan, I probably wouldn't have survived. And if I hadn't trusted Chu Ting later, I wouldn't have been able to escape. Amidst these chaotic thoughts, I drifted off to sleep unconsciously. When I woke up again, the pain in my head was gone. I felt refreshed and completely relaxed. I picked up my phone from the bedside, only to find it was just 7 o'clock. I had only slept for a little over an hour, yet it felt like I had slept for a whole day and night. I immediately opened the chat app, trying to find future Zhang Yan's avatar, but I couldn't find it. There was only one Zhang Yan in my contacts. Just then, a voice call came through. It was the real-world Zhang Yan. I perked up and immediately answered. Zhang Yan's urgent voice came through the phone. "Lin Che, where are you?" His voice sounded loud and clear. It seemed he was no longer in danger. I immediately felt a sense of relief. "I'm at home. Just woke up from a nap. How are you doing now?" Zhang Yan's voice sounded slightly anxious. "I'm fine now. The point is, how are you? Why are you at home? When did your family move to Haicheng?" I froze for a second. "What are you talking about? My family has always been in Haicheng. Aren't we childhood friends? If my family wasn't in Haicheng, how would we have known each other since we were kids?" Zhang Yan's tone became even more anxious. "That's because my family moved to Haicheng. How could you possibly afford a house in Haicheng? Even if you sold the shop your parents left you, it would be tough to buy a decent place in Haicheng. Tell me now, where the hell are you?" I suddenly felt an inexplicable irritation. "I'm at home. What do you mean left me? Zhang Yan, can you just speak normally? My parents are perfectly healthy. I just had a meal with them, and my sister and brother. My whole family has lived in Haicheng since we were children." Zhang Yan suddenly let out a shout over the phone. "Holy shit, your parents died in a car accident over 10 years ago. And where did this sister and brother come from? Aren't you fucking an only child?" Like a bolt from the blue, my mind erupted in a roar. The fake images in my head felt like they were being ripped to shreds by brute force. How is this possible? I stood there, frozen in shock. My phone slipped and hit the floor, making a thud. After the call ended, a searing pain shot through my head. I stumbled out of the bedroom and looked around. The living room was dimly lit. My father and the others were still gathered around the dining table. At that moment, they turned their heads, wearing stiff, unnatural smiles. "Xiao Xian, come and eat." I looked at the dishes on the table again. They were clearly plates of raw meat. What the hell did I just eat? I stood at the doorway, my blood freezing in my veins. My stomach suddenly convulsed, and a wave of intense nausea washed over me. It seems I can't activate the pre-dream talent while asleep. There's another more likely reason. My spirituality points have dropped below 40. Then, when I chose the system rewards earlier, why on earth did I give up 100 spirituality points? Instead, I chose the clone one-time supernatural skill. A surge of contradictions clashed violently in my mind. My scalp tingled with dread, as if a bucket of ice water had been poured over me. Who is interfering with me? To be precise, my perception has been distorted. Just then, a certain ability suddenly came to mind. Mind confuse. In that instant, I understood why, even though the system had long since prepared the mission rewards, I only remembered to claim them at the very last second. I understood even more. I was clearly ready to choose the other two sequences, yet in the end, I chose the illusionist. All of this was because I had been parasitized by that S-class specter. I slowly pulled a black jade piece from my pocket. Jiang Tong asked me to give this to Chu Ting, but due to various events, I didn't have the chance to return it, so I kept it with me. And right now, this black jade piece was covered in cracks. Turns out I never truly escaped. Then, a magnetic voice echoed in my mind. "You figured it out. Have you?" But it's too late. My head throbbed with agony, each word feeling like a blow from a sharp axe. "I have fulfilled your desires. Now surrender everything to me. Let me merge perfectly with you." and completely replace you. The voice in my head turned my limbs ice cold. Perfect fusion. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but it was definitely more terrifying than parasitism. In that instant, a tide of terror swept over me. I felt as if I had been transported to another world. What do? For mental attributes are maxed out. I must increase my personal level. To continue adding points, only the charm attribute is still at 8, can still be increased. I have no choice but to take a gamble. System, add a point to charm. Just as I felt my consciousness fading, I finally made the decision. You have used 1 attribute point. Current charm 9. As the system notification appeared, the darkness before my eyes vanished, and my consciousness returned to my body, regaining my freedom. Even the headache felt significantly lighter. It's useless. You're just struggling in vain. That magnetic, gentle voice spoke again, but I ignored it. Instead, a glimmer of hope rose in my heart. Increasing charm actually worked, and at that very moment, the eyes of the 4 at the table flickered, no longer dull and robotic. Their expressions turned cold and sinister. Come and eat now. My eyes darted. Who are these 4? Why are they posing as my family? Is it because of the S-Class Spectre's power? My thoughts raced, and then all 4 at the table stood up, closing in on me step by step. Their eyeballs bulged, their mouths gaping wide, spitting out massive tongues that stretched over 3 times their length. Their bodies swelled, their bellies becoming bloated, with metallic spikes piercing through their clothes. Seeing all 4 transform into horrific monsters comparable to vengeful ghosts, a term instantly flashed through my mind: slaughter rule. Just as the night demon's rule is day and night, the rule for these creatures is inviting the target to eat. If the target refuses or fails to respond, it triggers a monster slaughter. This thought flashed through my mind in an instant while facing the 4 mutated monsters. I can't choose to run. I must obtain spirituality points to increase my charm. I have to fight. The monster posing as my father leaped at me. Before its body even reached me, its thick tongue shot toward me like a projectile. I instinctively dodged to the side and suddenly gripped the middle of the tongue. Father let out a pained roar, desperately trying to yank the tongue back. The force I felt made me pause. Is it really this weak? I yanked it hard toward me, pulling the monster's body forward uncontrollably. I threw 2 heavy punches, ripping its flesh open. The next moment, a sharp pain shot through my palm. I looked down, only to find the tongue was coated in corrosive mucus. I quickly withdrew my hand, then launched a powerful kick. Father flew backward like a cannonball, knocking over Mother, who was right behind him. Meanwhile, sister and brother flanked me from both sides. 2 massive tongues shot toward me from above and below. I dodged, and just as the tongues were about to retract, I quickly snatched both of them. Before they could pull back, I hooked the door shut with my foot. Both tongues were slammed shut by the rapidly closing door. A piercing scream erupted instantly. Taking the chance, I opened the door again, and facing Father as he stood up, I activated the mind-confuse skill. Father's gaze became visibly dazed, launching a series of tongue attacks to the side. Even though he was incredibly close, and I didn't even dodge, the attacks kept missing their mark. One even hit Brother right in the stomach. Seizing the opportunity, I rained punches down on Mother, then suddenly leaped into the air, slamming my elbow hard into her temple. Next, I struck with ruthless precision. In no time, I took down the other 3 monsters. While the 4 creatures were unable to resist, I rushed into the kitchen and grabbed a cleaver, and beheaded them one by one. But to my horror, after their heads were severed, these 4 eerie creatures reverted to human form. Their open eyes still held a lingering, intense terror. A chilling thought suddenly crossed my mind. Had I just killed 4 innocent ordinary people? A gentle voice slowly echoed. That's right, you have slaughtered your own kind. You will be loathed by this entire world. Let us merge perfectly. I shall inherit everything you are. This is the grace of the gods upon you. I felt my consciousness slipping away again, but a searing pain in my palm suddenly snapped me awake. I looked at my hands. It was a burn from the mucus on the monster's tongue. No, you almost fooled me again. Once the flaw was exposed, the illusion before my eyes twisted and collapsed. Those 4 returned to their grotesque forms. Though this battle was perilous, it made me realize one thing: not all ghouls are as terrifying as the night demon. Then I opened the system panel. It read, You have slain a ghoul parasite. Spirituality plus 52. The system had already sent the notification. These alerts were proof enough that what I killed were indeed supernatural creatures. Yet I hadn't noticed it immediately. Immediately after, I spent 10 spirit points to exchange for 1 attribute point. Then I pushed my charm to the current level cap. As my charm reached 10, a puzzling notification popped up. Your transcendent skill, Heart Bewitching, has been enhanced by a power of the same origin. Level increased to LV2. You can now easily perceive the surface emotional fluctuations of your target, and through voice, gaze, and body language, influence and guide the perception of up to 3 targets, to varying degrees. Cooldown, 5 minutes. Not only that, in that instant, the splitting headache and mental rigidity completely vanished. I felt as if another door had opened. The system's charm attribute might not be as simple as the common understanding of looks or temperament. It might be related to the parasitism of ghouls. That magnetic voice suddenly turned irritable. Lowly insect, this power belongs to me. You shall be struck by divine punishment. I raised an eyebrow. So, this same source power belongs to you. However, if I increase my personal level and continue to raise my charm, what will happen then? Can I keep draining power from you? The voice became utterly cold. If you dare, I will abandon the perfect merge and completely parasitize your body. Of course, if you find me a suitable vessel, I can leave your body and grant you your freedom. I burst out laughing at that. Can you really parasitize me now? If that were the case, how could I be draining your power? The voice in my head fell silent for a moment. I can stop interfering with your consciousness and senses and guide you to the followers of the false gods. All you have to do is stop increasing your charm and then find me a suitable vessel. Followers of the false gods. Those who worship false deities other than the final phantom god. Those pathetic creatures should never have existed. My heart tightened. I immediately understood why it was such a coincidence that I stumbled upon a family of 4 who were all supernatural entities, but I kept my composure. Who knows where you'd led me? If it's something I can't handle, wouldn't you be leading me to my death? The voice sounded urgent. Why would I ever kill you? You are my chosen perfect merge. What I mean is, I still need you to help me find a suitable vessel. I gave a cold smile. That's not enough. You are still a massive threat to me. I think it's better to raise my charm as soon as possible and squeeze every bit of value out of you. As I finished speaking, the voice in my head suddenly became frantic with rage. Damn you, you insect. I am a herald of the final phantom god. You cannot control me. That is blasphemy. I pondered for a moment. So, increasing charm allows one to control ghouls? I remained silent and began changing into clean clothes, appearing completely confident. The voice finally deflated. Fine. I can lend you the authority of myriad faces, but only for your appearance, and the price required for it you must provide yourself. Furthermore, once you find me a suitable vessel, I will immediately raise your heart-bewitching skill to max level. This is the absolute limit of what I can do. You cannot be any more greedy. All I require is that you stop increasing your charm attribute. Only then did I show a satisfied smile. Fine, deal. At that moment, the system's voice chimed in. A supernatural entity from the gloom world is lending you the power of myriad faces. Do you choose to accept? Accept. You have acquired the transcendent skill. Myriad faces consumes 10 spirit points to change your appearance into any humanoid creature you have seen, lasting for a maximum of 2 hours. Cooldown, 12 hours. A smirk played on my lips, but a chill ran through my heart. I had escaped this crisis so easily. Not only did I kill 4 ghouls for spirit points, but I also blackmailed an S-class ghoul and extorted numerous benefits. Back when I faced the night demon's clone parasitizing Yu Tungwen, I had already realized one reality. These supernatural creatures are incredibly cunning. If even a mere clone of a night demon was like this, let alone an S-class ghoul, even more terrifying than the night demon itself, how could it be so easily manipulated by me? I don't know what it's plotting, There must be a trap. Everything felt wrong from start to finish. Every detail felt off. But I didn't waste my energy thinking about it because I had no doubt that if my emotions fluctuated even slightly, the entity could probe my thoughts and influence my decisions. I buried all my plans to counter this ghoul deep within my heart, refusing to let a single thought surface, just waiting for the next time I enter the dream. After putting on a set of clean clothes, I found a sheathed fruit knife in the kitchen and tucked it into my waist. Finally, I dug out a backpack and put the extinguished oil lamp inside. Once fully prepared, I finally answered the call from Zhang Yan, who had been calling incessantly. Just as I tapped the answer button, it cut off. Lin Che, are you okay? What the hell is going on over there? I quickly reassured Zhang Yan. I'm doing just fine. Don't worry, it was just a false alarm. Zhang Yan let out a long sigh of relief. That's good. Where are you right now? After speaking, Zhang Yan coughed twice. I raised an eyebrow, knowing he was sending me a secret signal. So, I asked cautiously, you're with official personnel, aren't you? Are they from the same unit as Chu Ting? Zhang Yan hesitated for a moment. There are, but they don't seem to be from the same department. Let me ask. But before Zhang Yan could finish, a burst of noise erupted over the phone. A few seconds passed. Then a click. A strange woman's voice rang out. Hello, I am from the official investigation team. My name is Tao Jujia. Lin Che, your current situation is extremely dangerous. Tell us your location immediately. We can come and rescue you. I frowned. I'm doing just fine. No need to waste manpower on me. How is Chu Ting doing? If you want to know, tell me your current location. I'll send someone to pick you up so you can see for yourself. That way, you'll also be under protection. I grew increasingly impatient. I'm on Taikong Road. Now, how is Chu Ting? Tao Jujia's voice remained cold and stern. I am warning you solemnly, your situation is extremely perilous. As a member of the official investigation team, I have the authority to command you to answer my questions. And as a citizen, you have an obligation to cooperate with my interrogation. Please tell me exactly what happened over there just now. I remained silent for a moment. When I spoke again, my voice suddenly became profoundly deep. How is Chu Ting doing? Answer my question. This is more important than your own life. My voice seemed to possess a peculiar magic. As the words fell, Tao Jujia's tone on the other end shifted instantly. She is still in danger. She is currently in a life pod repairing her body. Her exhaustion was far too severe. I felt a sudden, inexplicable sense of relief. Then I pressed further. Where is the night demon? Tao Jujia's voice sounded strange. It escaped, and as she uttered the last word, she suddenly snapped back to her senses, letting out a furious scream. What did you do to me? I hung up the phone immediately. Chu Ting isn't dead. The night demon is gone. I can't have a direct confrontation with the officials yet. Better leave this place first. I left unhurriedly, closing the gate of the small courtyard. Meanwhile, Tao Jujia was shaking with rage, striding quickly toward the elevators. She was followed by a group of young men and women in suits. Zhang Yan was sandwiched between several burly men, following Tao Jujia and the others. Not until they reached the underground garage did Tao Jujia manage to restrain her anger, truly overestimating himself, thinking that just because he had some lucky encounter, he can start looking down on everyone. Without official protection, he won't even know how he died in the end. As she spoke, she looked back at the youth walking at the rear. Is it confirmed? Where exactly is Lin Che? The youth with the laptop answered instantly. Confirmed. He is indeed on Taikong Road. Tao Jujia gave a cold snort. Go capture Lin Che immediately. Make sure to bring him back. Tell the research department to get ready. Once we bring Zhang Yan over, immediately read his memories using brainwave imaging technology. That kid isn't exactly honest. Just then, her phone rang. Upon answering, a frantic voice came through. Captain Tao, we have a problem. Zhang Yan has escaped. Tao Jujia bolted upright. 5 burly men, and you can't keep an eye on one ordinary college student? Order the action team to capture him immediately, and notify Zhang Yan's family, demanding that he surrender. If he doesn't appear within 2 hours, issue a nationwide manhunt. The same goes for Lin Che. On the other side, having left the courtyard, I was chatting with the parasitic entity. You say you can only detect entities within a rough 5-kilometer radius, and only those of the lowest rank, and if the target hasn't revealed its supernatural form, you can't even be 100% sure? Only at close range? Your prestige is slipping a bit. isn't it? A sneering laugh echoed in my mind.
Ignorant ant.
It seems you still don't understand. The higher the existence, the deeper their taboos and secrets. Those lives that were devoured have already entered the embrace of the gods. As the voice in my head spoke, it became incredibly fanatical. I was momentarily dazed, but I immediately snapped out of it. You used your power to influence me again. The voice gave a hypocritical apology. Sorry, I simply couldn't help myself. Then, the voice suddenly let out a gasp of surprise. I feel it. There seems to be someone nearby. My expression shifted. I felt a faint, vague sensation. I understood instantly. This was the guidance provided by the entity, just like when I went to that family of 4. The further I walked, the stronger that vague sensation in my heart became, until I arrived in a park. After passing through the rockery, a sudden scream echoed from the small hill ahead. I immediately whipped out my fruit knife, rushed through the dense foliage, and dove in. After rounding a thick tree, I saw something about 20 meters ahead. A slender monster, crouched over a naked man, ravenously biting into him. I hadn't been quiet coming in, yet the monster seemed completely oblivious, still buried in devouring the abdominal organs. It wasn't until I was about 10 meters away that the monster suddenly snapped its head up. Its skin was decaying all over, its limbs and torso far more elongated than a normal human's. Only its face remained human, and it was strikingly beautiful. Even now, the blood-stained face possessed a touch of eerie beauty. In the next instant, the monster flickered and appeared right in front of me. But I didn't panic in the slightest. A silver glow emanated from my pupils. As I retreated rapidly to defend myself, I suddenly raised my hand to stop her. Hold on. We aren't enemies. The beautiful monster dropped to all fours, stopping just a meter away from me. Her expression was slightly dazed. What's wrong? I paused for a moment. What triggers your transformation into this eerie form? A hint of shyness appeared on her monstrous face, accompanied by a look of unsatisfied longing. My lip twitched. Fine, you can kill yourself now. The other party looked stunned for a second, then immediately turned ferocious, opening her maw to tear me apart. I had been poised and ready. The moment I saw her expression shift, I plunged my blade straight into her throat. Simultaneously, my other hand pinned her head down, killing her instantly. At the same time, the system's voice rang out. You have slain the wraith, the parasite. Current spirit value 55. After the kill, I immediately went to the park restroom to clean up at the sink, then slid the fruit knife back into its sheath before quickly leaving. Then, a sorrowful voice echoed in my mind. Poor child. Though merely a believer of a false god, they were still a pioneer after all, and you just killed them like that. I pondered the word pioneer, feeling a surge of disgust, but I wanted more information about the gloom, so I changed the subject. I don't know how to address you yet. The voice chuckled. I have left my homeland, yet I have not truly descended upon this world. I am unworthy of a name of my own. However, you may call me Phantom Demon for now. I stopped talking and started fiddling with my phone. There was a text message from Zhang Yan. Those people from earlier aren't good people. They aren't on the same side as Chu Ting. Be careful. Although they are just ordinary people, they are all carrying firearms. They might try to harm you, and they've already tracked your phone. Whatever you do, don't get caught. That's all. Our phones might all be tapped. Don't contact me for now. So, I opened the search function, planning to find a way to avoid being tracked. After some searching, I decided to throw the phone away. After all, even if I turn it off or pull the SIM card, I could still be tracked. But there was one problem. Future Zhang Yan contacted me through this specific phone. Was there some kind of binding effect involved? If I throw this phone away, will I still be able to contact future Zhang Yan? This was precisely why, even knowing the authorities had tracked me, I hadn't thrown the phone away yet. But if I keep the phone, what if the authorities find me while I'm asleep? Just as I was worrying about this, an idea suddenly flashed through my mind. But before I could plan my next move, I was interrupted by Phantom Demon's voice. I feel it. There seemed to be quite a few guys nearby. My heart stirred, and I looked around, following the vague sensation. Finally, my gaze fixed on the small hill from earlier. I recognized the area. Behind this is a small commodity market. I immediately sprinted toward it. Almost as soon as I left, shouts erupted from behind. Don't run. I whipped my head around. I saw several figures in the distance. Over a dozen people, coming from 3 directions, were rushing across the lawn. Several cars were parked at the park's walkway entrances. I had no interest in wasting time here. Instead of stopping, I actually sped up. With 10 points in agility, my speed was like a gust of wind, racing toward the hill. In the blink of an eye, I put distance between myself and the pursuers. Then, a roar came from behind. "Stop running. If you keep running, we'll open fire." I looked back sharply. At this moment, all my attributes were maxed out. Even from a distance, I saw 3 of them raising guns. As a semi-military enthusiast, one quick glance at those slender barrels was enough to recognize them as tranquilizer guns. The 3 of them fired. Using a serpentine movement, I tried my best to stay behind the trees. The shots only traveled about 30 meters before being blocked by the woods. By the time they tried to fire again, I had already reached the middle of the hill. Meanwhile, the pursuers all came to a halt. Such incredible speed. This physical condition is similar to a night watchman's. He's trying to reach the summit. Correct. His target is the commodity market on the other side of the hill. Get there and intercept him immediately. A man in a suit holding a tablet gave orders into his headset. Target will reach the commodity market within 5 minutes. Prepare to intercept. Even if you can't stop him, you must stick to him like glue. Replies crackled through the headset. Immediately after, 2 cars at the intersection roared to life, leaving behind a cloud of dust. A moment later, an SUV screeched to a halt aggressively in the middle of the road. Tao Jujia flung the door open and jumped out from the passenger seat. What happened? Did he get away? The suited youth with the headset straightened his posture. Report, Captain Tao. Based on the target's trajectory, he is heading for the commodity market. He intends to use the crowds to evade capture. Even if he breaks through the blockade and enters the market, as long as we seal off all entrances and exits, strictly screen everyone entering and leaving, and deploy enough officers to sweep the area, he won't be able to escape. Tao Jujia's expression finally softened slightly. Huayun, I can always count on you. Hua Jun looked slightly hesitant. It's just that doing this might cause some negative impact. After all, the daily foot traffic in this market is enormous. Many of them are students from the nearby university town. Before Hua Jun could finish, Tao Jujia waved him off. It's fine. Just do it your way. I'll take full responsibility for the consequences. Also, arrange for special agents to set up sniper positions at these high points outside the market. He's no ordinary person. He's tough. Just leave him with a sliver of breath. Anyway, the night watchman and research department have healing methods. He won't die. Tao Jujia didn't care at all. Over 1,000 died in that dormitory building. Even Chu Ting was left barely clinging to life. He's just an ordinary student. Why is he perfectly fine? Don't you find that abnormal? In the surveillance footage, he was covered in blood, walking sluggishly, but he didn't even go to the hospital. Not only is he fully recovered, but he somehow gained a family out of nowhere. There's definitely something wrong with this Lin Che. Just then, a sharp-looking middle-aged woman hurried over, carrying a laptop. Captain Tao, this is the surveillance footage our team just retrieved. Please take a look. Tao Jujia nodded slightly. What was playing in the video was everything I experienced after entering that family of 4. Except for the bedroom, the living room and kitchen were all captured. This naturally included the mother, bringing out raw meat and placing it on the table, and me devouring it as if it were a delicacy. The other 4 sat around, a woman holding a bowl of crimson liquid, claiming it was pork rib soup. A young woman held a blood-stained textbook, babbling in a language no one there could understand. The boy giggled like an innocent child, while my face beamed with a happy smile, tears of emotion streaming down. Such a bizarre and terrifying scene. I didn't notice anything wrong at the time, but as the video played, everyone present felt the air turn colder, a chilling sensation running down their spines. Tao Jujia pointed at the screen. A monster. This Lin Che is definitely a monster. We must capture him. Hearing this, Hua Jun snapped back to reality. Do you really want us to do it? Shouldn't we notify the night watchers instead? Tao Jujia's tone was resolute. No, this time our investigation team must achieve some results to let those old fossils know that when facing supernatural creatures, it's not just the night watchers who can handle it. Lin Che's value is far higher than Zhang Yan's. As long as we can catch him and probe his memories, we'll surely make a major breakthrough in this case. We might even get intel on the night demon. Hua Jun began issuing orders through his headset. All units, attention. Target danger level upgraded. Meanwhile, at the northeast corner of the commodity market, two burly men looked around, looks of helplessness on their faces. That guy is simply not human. So fast. And such incredible stamina. Old San and C, facing that guy, were like they'd lost their minds, actually trying to use tranquilizer guns. This is just ridiculous. Yeah. I'd rather fight a desperate criminal. But what the hell is this? We could have just called the Night Watchers, but that brat insisted on showing off and barking orders. I don't know what she's trying to prove. The two bodyguards complained incessantly. Just then, Tao Judge's cold voice rang through the headset. Target located in Mall Building C. What are you still standing there for? Do you have some problem with me? Both men shuddered, startled by her tone. They picked a random direction and rushed over. I see him. He's gone to the second floor. After him. On the other side, I stood at the entrance of a clothing store, watching their receding figures. My understanding of the mind manipulation skill grew deeper. Just as I expected, for different people, the degree of influence varies. This is likely related to mental attributes. Earlier, when I encountered the three with tranquilizer guns, two of them shot their own comrades without hesitation, while the other one clearly showed a look of struggle and pain, and didn't fire. As for these two men's mental attributes, they must be even further from mine. Not only did they fail to notice me, but they were also affected by my interference, stirring up the resentment they held for Tao Judge, to the point they forgot about their headsets, blurting out the bitterness hidden in their hearts. The illusion demon probably dealt with me the same way, except the gap between me and the illusion demon is likely worlds apart. Just then, a gentle, magnetic voice echoed in my mind. My friend, are you thinking about me? I can feel it again. There seemed to be quite a few fellows in this place. With a thought, I immediately felt it. The guidance this time was very clear, but I didn't head there immediately. Instead, I quickly scavenged through the mall. I knew there were cameras in this mall, and all my actions would be traced in no time. So, I first gathered a large amount of items for disguise. Then I subdued a porter in the fire exit, swapped clothes and hats with him, and packed the scavenged disguise items into various bundles. As I walked out of Gate 4 with my head down, it just so happened that a group of burly bodyguards were entering through the main entrance. At the same time, more people were surrounding the other exits of the mall. With my head lowered, I calmly pushed my cart outward. Then, a voice full of disdain rang out. Are you blind? Can't you see someone's behind you? A yellow-haired punk with a bowl cut, licking an ice cream, approached from behind. Two young girls followed him, both looking at me with utter disgust. Move aside, don't you get it? You dimwit. In reality, the road was about 6 meters wide, and the cart was less than 2 meters wide. Though there were many pedestrians, there was plenty of room for them to pass. They just had to squeeze by. But perhaps because I was pushing the cart in the middle of the road, it annoyed the punk, who wanted to show off in front of his female companions. I sensed the punk's emotional fluctuation, and through his behavior, I guessed his inner thoughts, but I kept pushing the cart forward, while mentally controlling the thoughts of all the bodyguards, ordering them to rush to my location immediately. Once the punk reached me, I quietly stepped aside. Then, I issued a command to the bodyguards in my mind. Tension. Target is with two young girls, right behind you. The next moment, several bodyguards bypassed me and charged at the punk. The punk had no power to resist, and was immediately pinned to the ground by 3 guards. The 2 girls were also detained. All the pedestrians around focused their attention on the scene, and the bodyguards who had been surrounding the area now rushed in with heavy strides. Amidst the chaos, I silently pushed my cart away from the crowd. After leaving the commotion behind, I turned a corner with my cart, leaving bundles in corners from time to time. When only 2 bundles remained, I reached a fork in the road. The group of black-clad bodyguards had already closed in from all directions, nearly 20 of them. Some held stun batons, while others reached into their coats to draw guns. But sensing the crowd passing by, I put the gun back. While the crowd gathered, eager for some drama, they stopped to watch the scene unfold. I silently pushed the cart to the side of the road, then charged straight at them. With my overwhelming stats and perfect grade MMA, these people, unable to use their firearms, were all taken down in less than a minute. In such a short window of time, some of the curious onlookers didn't even have time to pull out their phones to record. I walked up to one of them, leaned into the headset and said, "Tell Tao Judja that I've spotted her. I'll be there shortly." After speaking, I snatched a pistol and 2 magazines, under the horrified gazes of the crowd, and calmly walked away with 2 bags. 2 minutes later, from the alley between malls A and B, I entered the inner ring pedestrian street. Though it was a bit noisy and chaotic, it had a lively street market vibe, perfect for me to blend in. So, I stepped into a random clothing store, changed into some trendy gear, then grabbed the crossbody bag with the oil lamp and walked out of the fitting room. When I returned to the food street outside, I saw uniformed officers everywhere, along with armed personnel with loaded weapons. I scoffed inwardly at the sight. This Tao Judja is really going to great lengths just to capture me. Official actions shouldn't be this aggressive. After all, I'm one of the few survivors from the dorms, and I've shown abilities far beyond an ordinary person. They should have at least tried to communicate with me, whether through incentives or appeals to national duty. There's no reason to jump straight to a forced arrest, especially by deploying firearms. Thinking this, I opened my phone again to check the text Zhang Yan just sent. My eyes locked onto one specific sentence. "Those people just now aren't the good guys, and they're not on Chu Ting."